Hello and welcome to Bahrain for the 8th and final round of the inaugural VMS Pro Series here on Le Mans Ultimate. Well, after several hours of all-out racing action over the last couple of months, it all comes down to this. There's a total prize pool of $185 in both Hypercar and GD3 that's going to be the fate of which is going to be decided today in our final endurance round of the season. So that's $60 for the endurance winner and $125 for the overall winner of the championship. It's very well poised. It's so close, actually, in the main standings in Hypercar and the Endurance Cup in GD3. My name is Edward Hunter, by the way. On broadcast direction, as always, is Nicolaus Domino doing a fantastic job to make sure we see as much of the action as possible. And joining me in the commentary box is my good friend, Mr. Owen Harmon. So, Owen, we are rejoined at last. They couldn't keep us apart for long, could they? And it's brilliant to have you here for what's probably going to be the most exciting and important race of the season, because it's the one where all the points and final prizes will get delivered at the end of it. We've got some top drivers here: Jene Simoncic, Michi Hoyer, Davin Rokcek, Kieran Prendergast in the GD3 class, and of course Sebastian Wunsch, all of whom are in with a shout of ultimate glory here. And are you excited?
Oh, without a doubt, Edge. I appreciate the opportunity to come along. I know I certainly wasn't expecting to be here when I woke up this afternoon. I slept in, so
It was a late call.
it was a late call. But yeah, the best tag teams can work in any organization and make it count. So yeah, I'm really excited to see some old names from other series that we are well versed with, and of course the other contenders as well in the other classes. So yeah, it is really exciting to have a Le Mans Ultimate stream. I have seen bits and pieces of the game, but I haven't actually had a chance to really experience it like this before, so I'm very excited.
Well, if the last 7 races in Pro are anything to go by, you are in for a treat, Owen. But now, let's very, very quickly, before qualifying starts, focus on the championship standings. So we've got 4 championships to keep our eye on, which is somewhat confusing because there are only 2 classes. But here are the overall standings. As you can see, Slovenia's Jene Simoncic, of course, the 4-time FSR champion, leading at the moment, just 7 points ahead of his old sparring partner in the same BMW Hypercar, of course, Michi Hoyer, on 147 points. Now, remember, the points in the overall standings go all the way down, in terms of the prize money at least, to the top 5. So in third, we've got the returning Davin Rokcek from Poland, of course, won so brilliantly at Interlagos in that sort of heart and mouth finish where he just held off Simoncic, and Simoncic put the engine on max mode, still fell just less than a tenth short by the checkered flag. Fabio Grigoletto, who just held off Simoncic in a similarly thrilling finish at, well, actually, no, Simoncic held him off, sorry, I should say, in a similarly thrilling finish at Fuji a couple of races ago, and then was given it the win in the stewards room because Simoncic crossed the pit entry line, which was a big no-no in the race director's notes. Grigoletto is about 4 points behind Davin Rokcek, so that is the difference between P3, $50, and P4, $30. And finally, in our 5th and final, our prize money slot is Aurelien Brou on 62 points. The Frenchman been very, very consistent all season in that number 3 Cadillac. Yet to get an overall podium, though. Maybe that's what it will take, because look, in 6th is the man who won last time out, Marco Di Buono, who, of course, set that brilliant qualifying lap in that Ferrari. He is on 48 points. Mario Tump, who's been absent for a couple of races, he's on 34 points in 7th. David Levy is 8th. The Spaniard just missed out in COTA because he ran out of virtual energy, which is the sort of battery deployment, and he had 1% left, had to pit, because if you go over, then essentially what happens is you get a basically drive-through penalties and potentially disqualifications as well if you start to get into real trouble and use more energy than you're allowed. It's a little bit like a real World Endurance Championship in that way. Amos Lorito of Tatum Esports and Lamborghini Esports fame, he is 9th on 29 points. Rounding out the top 10, remember the top 10 get automatic entry next season, is Daniele Farinelli, who the Italian got exactly the same points as Jules Neal, the French teenager as well. So those two are going to be fighting at hammer and tongs to see who, even if they're on the same points, is going to come down to a sort of tie break in terms of 10th Here's the Endurance Cup. We've had 2 rounds so far, with this being the final one. Jenny Simičić on 78 points. He is 22 ahead of Michi Hoy, so a top 5 would seal this cup for Simičić today. Dabrin Rotchek is in that third prize money slot. $15 would be coming his way if he can hold on in third from Grigoletto on 43 points. But it's only let's see, a 7-point difference between the two, so it could be close there. Mario Tump is 5th. Then it's Aurelian Brew, Marco de Bueno, Jules Neal, Mark Veit, and Julian Gurin in 10th on 10 points there as well. Moving on to GD3. Kieran Prendergast leads the overall standings, as you can see, by a pretty significant margin. 15 points today. Of course, with the extra points for winning, it's 39 points for a win in the endurance races. So Prendergast can win today if he finishes second. Sebastian Wunsch on 133 points is the only one that can potentially beat him, but he's been beaten by Prendergast the last 2 rounds in a row. Callum Cripps is holding on to third, 92 points. Then in fourth is Michelle Rodriguez on 64 points. Just 3 points adrift is Fabian Ballet in that last prize money spot. Then just missing out at the moment would be Erwin Liskowitz, the pole, about 5 points away from those lovely $15. Then it is Arda Ercan, the Turkish driver, in 7th. Regan Mitchell is 8th. Matteo Blotto is 9th. Kamau Naui, who's been absent for a long time in this championship, actually after winning the opener in Spa, he is rounding out the top 10 at the moment. So if Luca Fingard can beat him, he will get promotion to next season. And speaking of which, here's the Endurance Cup. It's the other way around at the top. Sebastian Wunsch leads by 8 points over Kieran Prendergast. So that's very, very tense. It's winner takes all between those two in this Endurance Cup. Kamau Naui holds on to third, but only by a single point from Callum Cripps. So another $15 up for grabs for Callum Cripps here. Fabian Ballet is 5th. Erwin Liskowitz is 6th. Michelle Rodriguez 7th. Regan Mitchell 8th. Louis Gaspar 9th. And Luca Fingard rounds out your top 10 in that Endurance Cup. And remember, we've already had the Sprint Cup won by Michi Hoyer and Kieran Prendergast, respectively. So they both already got $60 to their name, but there's more prize money up for grabs. And you can see how in a lot of these classes, especially Hypercar overall and GD3 Endurance Cup, it's there's like literally it is winner takes all between the two. Like one mistake could completely change the hand of where that money goes.
Precisely, yeah. The opportunity, it's already come down to this. I know you've mentioned the Sprint Cup as its own separate entity, so that skill set has been tested. So now with the final 2.4 hours endurance, whatever skills that they can combine, if they're more comfortable with the sprint format, they've got to show up their mettle now for over certainly near 3 hours pretty much. So they've got to concentrate their minds here. They know they've got great opportunities to salvage the best possible outcome for the prize money. And what can be certainly the head-to-head, you may think, oh, this is my opponent for tonight, and then suddenly there's your next challenger who comes along and benefits from your battling against such and such an opponent. So both classes got to be very focused on what they're doing. Don't get too drawn into one battle when you've got multiple opponents for the championship and the prize money. So there's so much to think about for these drivers over the 2.4 hours.
Yep, before we start, we of course have to get through qualifying with the GD3 field being released now. So we will get, of course, about 14 more minutes then of GD3 qualifying. The final 10 minutes will be taken up by Hypercar qualifying as well. So it's always a little tricky because they don't show exactly when the GD3 session ends and the Hypercar session begins. But the GD3s, if they set the lap after the time limit, they could be in trouble with the stewards afterwards. It has happened a couple of times where they've gotten caught out. It's great to see a pretty solid field of attendance here for this finale in Bahrain. And I think you've looked no further than Prendergast and Wunsch for your pole sitters as well. But keep your eyes on the likes of Ballet. Valtteri Maninen in the Corvette has had a bit of an up and down season. Attendance has been a bit flaky, but great to see him back in that Corvette looking to do battle. And Owen, without wanting to draw too much attention to this, I am being called down for dinner, so I'll be back momentarily, and I will leave the audience in your very, very capable hands for the rest of GD3 qualifying, and I'll be back for the Hypercars.
Doke, so let us begin with our LMGT3s warming up now as we speak. So this is just their first run in the 24-minute session. I think we're just laps. So watching Prender let us watch Prendergast from the overhead shot, ready to begin this first lap qualifying session. And you're gonna give us two coming up. Yeah, gonna nail the approach for the apex and making sure there's no risk of oversteer. And there you go, looks pretty planted to me. Pushing on now to turn 4. Very, very tricky corner with track limits, infamous here. If you go too quick into the corner, then you're going to get swallowed up by the runoff on the outside. But yeah, he's definitely got that under control. Yeah, very tempting. Of course, he almost did it, but there we go, 36.1 first sector split time. But we won't really know exactly where every driver stands until they log in their first lap. Now down into turn 8, slow right-hander, using a lot of curb on the inside, ready to push on for the double apex left coming up. And this is another example of a corner that can absolutely destroy your lap if you're not absolutely dialed in. And that looks again spot on from Kieran. And down the back straight now to see what his next split time be coming in the next few corners. Again, yeah, the Corvette in the background, nowhere really able to benefit anymore now. So pushing on through 1 minute 20 now. Should be getting the time secure now to see how he's getting on for sector 2. What shall it be? It's 53.7, so not too bad. And now the final 3 corners to go. And this should be just in about 2 minutes. Let's see, there we go. We can see sometimes there Rodriguez and McLaren a 2 minute 1.003. Cripps just 2/10 behind. So yeah, 2 minute 0 should be Prendergast's objective here, just to keep the likes of Wunsch at bay. Let's see how he gets on. Yeah, 2 minute. Oh, he's actually broken the 2 minutes barrier. So 1:59.7, really impressive. And Sebastian Wunsch has his chance to reply. He's just about 2/10 off on his first 2 sectors, but it's gone a bit awry in sector 3. And Prendergast looks dominant so far. 0.6 of a second clear of Wunsch. Everyone else in the McLarens and indeed Manninen's Corvette a long way back. So Manninen definitely needs to recover that lap and try again. Here's a look at BMW. Zach Vermack has his number BMW going. It looks like the number 31. Yes, 31. So there it is from the side profile on the door. And at the moment, yeah, this time is about on target for a top 3. If you can secure it, it should be just about 2 minute 1. Oh, 2 minute 9, not too bad at all. And it is indeed P3 for Vermack. And that just leaves 3 drivers on that timing screen yet to set a lap time. But at the moment, we return to Prendergast, who has a purple sector 1 already. So he's ready to perhaps put a whole second against Sebastian Wunsch. And yeah, a little bit of traffic in the way, but shouldn't be too big of a deal. So now let's see what the sector 2 has to say for itself. Heading towards turn 13 about now. Is it purple again? Oh, he's used a bit of curb there. Didn't unsettle the car too badly. I thought it could have been a bit worse. Perhaps, yeah, we'll double check if that's going to be a valid lap or not. And yeah, he's backing off. So not able to really secure that one. Wunsch, though, looks more planted on this lap. Here we go. He's heading to the final set of corners as we speak. You can see several other opponents are just in the way now, but it should be okay in the Ferrari. And yeah, that looks better. So Wunsch should be able to at least get into the low 2 minutes himself. Maybe sneak a 159.731. He's beaten Prendergast's time. So a huge improvement in the final sector there for Sebastian. And that breaks Prendergast's dominance. And now a huge opportunity now for Wunsch to get the objective of pole position on this season finale. Kieran has to react to that straight away. So we'll see now as he comes up through sector 1 about now. Again, yeah, he's gone purple. We had a little flicker of a yellow flag, but it doesn't seem to be a particular concern. And now how he gets on through 8, 9, and 10 is going to be so telling. And yeah, this will be a clear track coming up for sure. I don't see any other cars doing their lap time or warming up for an out lap at the moment. So Kieran will want to take an immediate return serve against Sebastian Wunsch. There you go. You can see perfectly clear space. It's just the opponents all behind him at the moment. He's now braking hard for turn 11. Waiting to be able to get fully on the throttle again. And let's see. Is he pushing on just that little bit to make sure he can take the pole position back off Wunsch? Yeah, it's a green sector 2 here. That should be about on course for the pole as things stand. Let's see, with the 14 and 15 to go, can he make sure the Ferrari is knocked back down in this head-to-head battle for our championships and the prize money? Now, 100% commitment down the start-finish straight. Is it enough for the pole? Taking it all back. It is. And another trading of the pole position. It's 0.08 of a second advantage. And Wunsch's latest attempt does not look to be representative at all. This one, hopefully he's fueled up and he's got the tires. Definitely not a push lap there for Wunsch. So he will try again this time by. Braking now for the first sequence of corners. Lovely onboard camera here. You can see the wheel in motion, the heads-up display showing the gear changes, and indeed his target lap time is now at 159.6. So each and every tenth makes such a difference, and that's beautiful turn in for 4. So now second gear, using all that curb on the outside through the slalom, coming up now 5, 6, and 7. Pretty planted to me. Staying in third gear, using more curb. Very, very nice. And turn in nice and deep first gear. Kicking up a lot of revs there. And now 9 and 10 will definitely enjoy the onboard of this. Or we won't anymore, but yeah, there we go. 9 and 10 from the external cameras. And he does have the BMW following in just behind. So at the moment, with 50 minutes to go in the session, that's Thingard there in P5 in the number 31. So at the moment, Prendergast on pole, 159.6. Sebastian Wunsch in second with just 8. Oh, there's a wide there for Luca, so that will have to be an abandoned lap. We've Cripps, Rodriguez, and Thingard completing the top 5. Cripps is 0.6 of a second down, then Rodriguez nearly 0.8 down. Thingard 1.2 seconds off. Veermack has 6th position. Mitchell is 7th, and Mannanen just trying to get within 1 second or thereabouts on pole sitter. Not happening for him so far. Crawford is in pit lane, and Ballet, we're just watching him right now in P9. Can he get himself close to contention? Yeah, P4, very good. So Fabien Ballet up to 4th position, and now it's probably time for a little bit of a small recuperation and refresh to make sure the cars are ready to go for another lap. But we return to Veermack and his BMW. So we're just at the end of GT3 qualifying about now. So it is, of course, a split session between the GT3s and the LMP1s. And we can welcome back Ed Hunter after his dinner time. So I hope you're well fed, Ed.
I had to eat quickly. Didn't want to miss the end of the exciting qualifying session. But wow, it's been brilliant watching Prendergast and Wunsch just absolutely trade blows of each other every lap. Wunsch really, really good in the middle sector, but Prendergast just about making the difference. 81 thousandths of a second in the first and final sector. Zach Vermaak over the line for the final time, and that's him finishing the session in 7th behind the other BMW of Luca Thingard there. So I think that's our last GT3 man over the line, because we are getting towards the release of the hypercars from the end of the pit lane then. But first blood to Prendergast, you have to say, Owen. So he is really just on a roll at the moment. And Seb Wunsch, very, very close in qualifying, but it's difficult to see how he can get the upper hand here. But it could be interesting if Wunsch can sort of stay with him at the start of the race. Maybe he can try a risky move to try and secure the endurance championship. Does look like Zach Vermaak is continuing on here. I hope he's realised that it's the sort of 15 minutes to go mark, which is where the cutoff is, because he does seem to be trying another qualifying lap that he started with about 30 and a half minutes left on the clock, which I'm pretty sure you're not allowed to do. So Vermaak is going to have to vamoose back to the pit lane before too long.
Yeah, indeed. So yeah, the Hypercars will get their turn, but Zach just wants to keep going, it seems. We'll
Could just
see
do
for
him back
sure.
to the pits, which
Yeah,
would
it
be
could be
fine.
just a push back to the pits. That could be either.
Cheeky, just trying to push and then stop just after the final corner, just so
Yeah, indeed,
he gets that little bit more practice in. He did. I think he did say to me, he sent me a PM after the last race at Kota. He said, "Oh, that went really bad. I'm going to practice really hard for Bahrain and end on a high," which was really interesting. I'm being directed to look at the social media chat. I assume Nicholas is telling me about the live chat on YouTube. No, not okay. I don't know where he's telling me to go then. Okay. Well, I assume you can just tell me what it is, Nicholas, and I can read it out on stream, because I'm not really going to go faff around and dig for it. Zach Vermaak sets the sick fastest time, beats Luca Finger, but he started that lap late, so
yeah.
I assume Zach is banking on the fact that it's so late in the season that any penalty he won't be applied to him. But I think come season 2, Zach Vermaak might have a penalty hanging over his head for setting a lap after the time limit elapsed there. Anyways, we see the Hypercars exiting the pits. I do have that news now. This is news from the Contender Series. So that's the support series we had on Friday, the finale at Le Mans. In GT3 class there, Simonian won the race. He's received a 65-second time penalty, converted from a stop-and-go 30-second penalty for starting and completing his final qualifying lap outside the allocated time for LMGT3s, which is exactly what we just seen Zach Vermaak do as well. And I think they're looking for seeing how that affects the championship, because Simonian won with Marin Bessier, his championship rival, in 4th. That will be enough of a difference to put him behind Bessier, who was only 2 points behind going into that finale. So that would give Marin Bessier the GT3 contender title, which is big for Marin Bessier, because he made a risky tyre gamble, went for the dry tyres in the middle of the race, probably a bit too early, lost a lot of time as a consequence, and then was recovering places at the end. But and there was actually Vasquez Simonian also had a massive crash in the middle of the race at the Indianapolis corner at Circuit de la Sarthe. The rear end was completely bent, but he still won by just a couple of seconds in the end on wet tyres on a drying track. So it was still an impressive drive, and you got to feel a little bit for Vasquez Simonian. But I think it's the case of these GT3 cars; they just lose track of the time and don't realise until too late. So it's a shame that in this instance it's had a big impact on the Contender Championship.
Exactly. Yeah, it must be so despairing to lose a championship like that. You think you've done everything correct, and then you perform in the race the way you need to, and then realize, there's been a procedure breach, and it has to be rolled back. So yeah, absolutely horrifying for Simonian to lose it like that. But yeah, you just have to be 100% sure what you're doing. It can be decisive as well as your performance on the track. So yeah, real shame that such a thing has happened. But yeah, we'll hopefully realize from now on to make absolutely sure your driving is totally within regulation and you can't get docked anything for it. So our hypercars, such as that would, it's got.
Oh, I think you broke up a little bit on me there, Owen, so I'll just carry on. But somebody in the chat, Adrian Prado, asks, when is Season 2? And Cryptic TMG correctly says sign-ups are open for Season 2 now, as we see Gavin Rochik about to start his first flying lap. So Series 2 starts, of the Pro Championship starts with Sprint at Imola on the 13th of the 4th month of the year, which I believe is April, if I'm not mistaken. So it goes through from 13th of April all the way through to the 3rd of the 8th, which I believe is August. And that will end, the season ends on a 9th round of the season at Spa. So yeah, we got a much longer, a one race longer calendar to look forward to next season. Imola, Fuji, Bahrain, Sebring, Circuit de la Sarthe, Monza, Portimao is added to the calendar, and Qatar as well. And then, of course, Spa being the finale instead of Bahrain come season 2. But of course, lots of improvements, new cars coming to season 2, not least the Ford Mustang, the Aston Martin GT3 Vantage, and of course the Porsche 911 added to the Corvette, the McLaren, and the Ferrari that we've seen be the sort of cars of choice, along with the BMW, it must be said, in GT3 this season. But now Davin Mrokcek, Owen, who of course the 2021 Formula Challenge champion, returning from a couple of races away. He went on holiday basically, and that sort of consigned him to not being particularly in the hunt for the sprint championship, essentially, and with Fabio Grigolato beating him to third in the end. But yeah, Mrokcek, of course, has been one of the drivers that has gotten a lot of pace out of this Lamborghini. It hasn't really seen a whole lot of success in real-life world endurance, but it's really gotten its time to shine in this game, it must be said. Mikolaj Hutrushki in the Contender Series in Hypercar was dominant in this very same vehicle as well. As now we see Mrokcek is going to be the first to set a really competitive lap time here. Purple in the first 2 sectors. He crosses the line. What's the benchmark time? Going to be 1:46.794, but it's already beaten by Fabio Grigolato immediately behind him in his 311 Cadillac there. So Grigolato, after being disconnected while running second at COTA last time out, he seems really fired up to end the season on a high. But Marco De Buono, winner last time out, he's looking to get 2 wins in a row, Owen.
Of course, yeah, what an effort it would be for Buono to win 2 in a row, and certainly put the impetus on the championship contenders for our prize money to get second place in a bit of a showboat there. I'm not sure if he meant to do that from Marco, but he'll carry on with the effort now to make sure he doesn't lose out on the time in case this lap is kind of spoiled. Michi Hoyer didn't get a representative time either, so yeah, it is pressure on in terms of our championship battle. Simoncic, of course, he was a bit further back on track, wanting to make sure he had loads of clear space. And slight improvement here in Sector 1 for Michi. And yeah, pushing as hard as he can to make sure this is a proper lap time for him, Ed.
Indeed. So all these other cars makes this championship a lot more complicated than it would otherwise be. Good luck for Kak Pomeriansky. We've not seen him in quite a while, actually. So great to see him get into the top 4 at the present moment. 1.3 seconds off pole. But all those top 3 looking like they could be real threats to Hoyer and Simoncic. The thing about the BMW V8 hybrid here is that in terms of warming up its tires, and it is a night race, of course, let's not forget, it does tend to be a little bit trickier to warm them up. We saw in the very first race of the season at Spa on the first lap, not only did Simoncic get jumped, as we see Hoyer briefly set the purple first sector, but I believe Simoncic has just beaten that, and now Hoyer is backing off again. Look at him weaving, trying to get more temperature in those tires. By the way, Hoyer and Simoncic are both live streaming their points of view, so if you want to see on board what it's like to fight for the VMS Pro title, then they'd be good ones to watch. But here's Simoncic. You can always tell him apart from Hoyer because he's in the BMW art car with the messiest livery, whereas Hoyer's one looks much more neat and tidy. But it's sort of, it's almost like the opposite of their personalities, if you ask me, where Simoncic is always neat, precise, and perfect, and Hoyer is the one that ends up sort of taking a few risks here and there that often pay out and go his way. But fantastic time from Simoncic. There we go, 16 thousandths ahead of Fabio Grigolato. A brilliant first 2 sectors and a personal best in the final sector there. So that is the marker nailed down. Simoncic looking to seal both championships here. Remember, he is 7 points ahead of Michi Hoyer. 38 points for a win, 28 for second. So Simoncic can, if he wins this race, he can seal the title. If he finishes second or third and Hoyer doesn't win, then he would also win the title. So it is again another winner-takes-all scenario, much like the Endurance Cup in GT3.
Of course, yeah. Really clarifying, I'm sure, for Yurne to think all I need to do, I know it's difficult, is to finish the race in first or make sure that Michi Hoyer is not the winner if I'm below third place. So that is it is gratifying to know that is possible. The destiny is slightly in his hands, as unfortunately Grigolato missed the turn in for 14 and 15, so he was bouncing on the outside curb. That lap has been spoiled, but now we return to Hoyer, and he's doing a lot better this lap, Ed, using all the outside line there, heading towards 14 and 15. He's purple sector 2, but it's got to all count now. The very, very minimum is certainly to get onto the front row, pip the Cadillac of Grigoletto at the very least, but he's got to go all the way, I feel, if he wants to make sure. Yerny Simičić under a bit of pressure. Here we go, across the line. It is pole position by 0.3 of a second. Unreal.
Yeah, fantastic last two. That final sector as well was absolutely immense through the sort of high-speed couple of corners just after turn 11 all the way through to that final corner there. That was just a superb effort from Michi Hoyer, but there's still time for another lap there. Simičić could strike back, but that is a decisive lap there from Michi Hoyer right when he needed it as well. Remember, he out-qualified and beat Simičić last time out at Circuit of the Americas, and you sort of feel after Simičić has generally had the upper hand, especially in the endurance rounds so far this season, finally Michi Hoyer is starting to get to the point, and we know he's gone on all season about how much he really loves this Le Mans Ultimate game. The handling really seems to suit him a lot better than some of the R Factor 2 series he was competing in before, and it's really great to see him just excel back to his brilliant best. And Simičić, all of a sudden, he was beginning to think, oh, well, I got pole wrapped in the bag from Grigoletto there by 16 thousandths. And now it's looking a bit more shaky. Of course, still a top 5, no matter what, would seal the Endurance Cup in Hypercar for Simičić. But now maybe the seeds of doubt are starting to creep in, because Hoyer is doing a brilliant job. Can Davin Rokcek get in the mix? Yes, he can. He splits Hoyer and Simičić. Only just, though, still 0.3 behind Michi Hoyer, which really underlines the job that he's done there, as he was purple in the first sector, but he's had a much slower middle sector by 2.5 seconds as we go into the final 40 seconds of the session, Owen, and Simičić, all the pressure's on him now.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, this is not a comfortable situation at all, and you can see it exactly there, pushing extremely hard out of turn 13, and definitely the anxiety is building here. If he wants to get one more lap in, he does have to make sure this is a complete lap. Don't waste this opportunity. One mistake is permissible if you can actually try again, make sure the tires and the fuel are all in condition. So the improvement there, 1:45.7, just missing out there by a few hundredths to go. Yeah, so he's 0.3 back pretty much. So he needs to dig very deep if he wants to break the 1:45.3 range. That'll be enough to get pole.
Yeah, there was a yellow flag briefly there. I did fear for a little bit that maybe Yerny had run out of fuel after crossing the line there. But we see Davin Rokcek neck and neck with Hoyer in the first sector here. And this is where maybe the Lamborghini can spoil the parties. I think that's Mariansky in the Porsche. Or it must be Mariansky that's gone completely off track just after turn 11 uphill into 12. Personal best in that middle sector, but Rokcek is starting to lose. Hoyer was just so strong in that middle sector, really confident on the brakes through a turn 8 and turn 10, the sort of 2 hairpin sort of corners there, and he's up again. Owen, this is going to be an absolutely excellent lap if Hoyer can string it together, and it's going to put him well clear of everybody else.
Yeah, that would be such a boon to his confidence to have the pole position, to lead the way. Down a little bit in sector 2, nothing to be especially concerned about. Very clean entry through turn 13 there. Now he's got to deal with 1 to go. And then Simičić also purple in sector 1, but sector 2 very lengthy. And it's another purple. It's going to be extremely tight. Hoyer composed through the final set of corners. He's got to secure a little bit of improvement here to beat back Yerny. He has improved to 1:45.3. So therefore, Simičić needs a 1:45.34 or 3:56. You want to be ultra precise. Let's see if he can do it. Pushing as hard as he can across the line. No! Oh my goodness. Oh, it's a 1:45.371, 14 hundredths behind. But Grigoletto across the line himself. Here we go. Is this a shock pole? It is indeed. The caddy has done it.
By 7/10 as well. Grigoletto was keeping his powder dry. He kept that under his hat for a long time, didn't he? And then pulled it out right at the end. Brilliant from the Italian, the winner in Fuji. Of course, after that penalty, he wants to win on the track this time. And That was an absolutely superb lap. Shame we only just caught the end of it. We're so focused on Hoyer versus Simoncic, and only 14 thousandths of a second between the two. And looks like Simoncic, for the first time in endurance around this season, does not start on pole. Me and my commentator, Braden Hill, we were calling him... Braden, I think, had a bit of a Murray Walker-style flub, called him the pole sister instead of the pole sitter. But yeah, certainly Yene has got his work cut out for him if he wants to win this overall title now. But of course, Grigoletto crucially taking pole there means that Hoyer's not going to win. So right now, by the slenderest of margins, if it finishes like this, Yene would be the VMS Pro overall champion in Hypercar.
Yeah, right, Jar. It's all about that podium battle. If Yerny can get on the podium and has a little bit of a Grigoletto special in front of him, then yeah, he should be in prime position to secure that title and the prize money that goes with it.
Yeah, but still a long way to go. 2.4 hours of action. Let's see how they all start then. Fabio Grigoletto and Michi Hoyer make up the front row. That is going to be fascinating throughout the first phase of this race. Yene Simoncic and Davin Rotchek, an equally strong row 2 in third and fourth, with Simoncic got it all to do just to hold on to that title. Marco Di Buono and Jules Neal make up row 3. Good qualifying from Neal. Then it's Aurelian Brew and Daniele Farinelli making up row 4 in their Cadillacs. Row 5 is David Levy and Gaetan Quidel. Can David Levy maybe sneak through onto the podium this time around, as he got so close to doing last time out? Kakpa Marianski makes up the Hypercar field, but it's Prendergast on pole on row 6 in that McLaren from his title rival Sebastian Wunsch for close company. Callum Cripps in third in both championships is third on the grid. Fabian Ballet is fourth on the grid with Michel Rodriguez for company on row 8. Then on row 9, it's South Africa's Zach Vermaak with Luca Fingard in the sister BMW. But of course, Vermaak will get in trouble after this for taking that late quali lap. Regan Mitchell and Valtteri Maninen make up row 10 in the McLaren and Corvette respectively. And the rear is made up of Marcus Crawford, the American, of course, who is always a fixture near the back of the field, but always trying to get good points there. Not always the most popular amongst the hypercars, because there's been a couple of incidents. Michi Hoyer, I remember as well, in Fuji, where he actually had contact with Marcus Crawford as Crawford was exiting the pits into that first hairpin at turn 1. And I think Michi Hoyer sort of feels that cost him a shot at victory on that occasion. But Hoyer has got another chance to snatch victory again if he can potentially jump Grigoletto at the start here and put himself in a position to steal the championship from Simoncic. For Simoncic, even though third, if it stays like this, would seal it, this is him under maximum pressure here. And Grigoletto, he's not going to worry about any of it, because he is looking at a solid third overall if he can beat Davin Rotchek here by winning.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, Simoncic, it would have made his life a little bit easier to have gotten that pole. But when you see Grigoletto absolutely excel on that last push lap, I suppose you can doff his cap and say, yeah, fair play. But now it's where it all counts in the race itself. The countdown to assembling the grid, not too far away now from completion. So there we go. All our competitors in Hypercar and GT3 all set up, and we'll see how they get on the rolling start, I would imagine.
It is a rolling start, that's right, Owen. So they will be both released at the same time. Luckily, everybody got laps on the board, so the GT3, there's no Hypercars starting behind the GT3s on this occasion then, as now Grigoletto is about to lead the field away. So green flag will be in a few moments' time. Just getting close to the inside of Hoyer, telegraphing his intentions well in advance there. $185 then up for grabs in both classes then. Grigoletto starts on pole with Hoyer alongside, then Simoncic just behind in third. It's all to play for then as we gear up for the final race of the season. For the final time, we go green to green flag racing conditions here in Bahrain, and it's not a good start from David Morocek now as he goes side by side with Yene Simoncic then, but it's Hoyer that has jumped Grigoletto for the lead as they go into turn 1, and Grigoletto all showing his nose. That's not what Michi Hoyer needs at all. Morocek has gone all the way around the outside of Yene Simoncic as Grigoletto retakes that lead. That was Hoyer, I think, thinking tactically there, playing the long game as Simičić now attempts to get back up the inside of Davor Rocek into turn 4, but then thinks better of it. Meanwhile, GD3, it's Prendergast that's made a clean start, but our three McLarens are about to go side by side. Oh, that's a big dive there. I think that's Callum Cripps being ganged up here by Fabian Ballet and Michel Rodriguez then. So Rodriguez, who started just behind, is made a bit of a dive there, didn't quite work out. Cripps has gotten back through, and Fabian Ballet keeping a watching brief on the pair of them then. So all that action, but Grigoletto holds the lead, and the Simičić, this is a bit of a nightmare, unideal start for him, as Crawford has a bit of a moment at the back, but collects it up nicely.
Yeah, just making sure you get through lap 1 clean. If you have a slide and you can catch it, then fair enough. But now side by side, it's Neil and Buono through. They have a look there. Looks like Buono has lost position, I'm afraid. So Neil, very clinical driving there to gain 5th position there off the Ferrari AF Course Hypercar. So yeah, Jules will be pretty chuffed about that one. But Jernej is already fairly clear up the road, as the top 4 is as it pretty much was. Grigoletto getting his lead after it looked like he messed up on his launch.
Yeah, and just a reminder in terms of the championship, if Michi Hoyer finishes 2nd, he needs Simičić 4th or worse to steal the title from him overall, and that's what's playing out at the moment. So Simičić needs to keep them in sight. Maybe he can do something clever with the fuel. He tends to do this if he loses track position early on, especially when they come to lapping GD3 cars. If he can't immediately get through, he will tend to, but strategically, his old Gaetan Quidel has lost it. I think he might have tried to make a bit of a move there as he cuts across the front of David Levy there as he rejoins. But that was a bit of an unfortunate, messy moment for there. We cut away before that happened. So as we see, Zach Vermaak has immediately died for the pit lane. So more bad luck for Vermaak then. That's a huge shame for him. Maybe this is a preemptive stop and go for setting the qualifying lap. Yep, 30 seconds stop and go for setting a lap that he started after the GD3 quali session ended. So there we go. Zach Vermaak, I think, will be starting to feel the pain of that, because he only gained 1 position as well over Luca Fingard. In the end, he's lost a lot more time than he gained there.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Just trying to eke out too much than he was entitled to. He will have a lot of work to do, but I suppose, yeah, 2 hours and 37 minutes really to go. And yeah, there's still a lot more in this race than meets the eye. So yeah, definitely not reason to give up for Zach just yet. Yeah, this Hypercar battle is still very much in the balance, but Grigoletto's lead is just about a second, coming down slightly, I suppose, on acceleration on board with Rocek, and he wants to give Michi Hoyer a little bit of a fright just to see, can I get a podium against the championship contender, and maybe go for the win. Of course, it's all possible here, and the Lamborghini should be pretty rapid in the slipstream, across the line there, just about 4 tenths behind. So yeah, it is a very tense battle early on, but yeah, definitely no one wants to give up their A game too early in this first stint in the deciding race.
Yeah, and remember, Rocek could be the kingmaker here. If he gets past Hoyer, that could cost Hoyer a chance at the title overall. So this is very tense here, and Davin Rocek, I think, while his battle is really with Grigoletto in the championship, all 4 of them ride together on track, so that makes it really unpredictable for all of them, as now we see Regan Mitchell trying to make up ground past Valtteri Manninen into turn 1 here. Can the Englishman beat the Finnish driver on the brakes here? Manninen trying to hold on round the outside in that Corvette. We haven't seen the Corvette in the Pro Series for quite a number of races now, so it's good to see Manninen back. And he's defending well, because Regan Mitchell could not get late enough on the brakes there to really challenge. So he's going to try again into turn 4 as he sees the road open in front of him. Is he going to be late enough on the brakes this time? Nothing's better of it, of course. Still a long way to go, 2 hours, 35 minutes. And let's remember, the strategy, especially in Hypercar, is going to be a key factor here, because you could see drivers double stinting the tyres to have quicker pit stops at certain phases of the race, but then suffering from having less fresh tyres. Or we could even see drivers saving fuel and then doing splash and dash for the little fuel that they need to get to the end. At the end, that's exactly what Jernej Simičić did to win at Spa. It was really a perfect strategy on that occasion, and I think that is very much what Yerne will be hoping to execute on this occasion at the moment. And yeah, lots of interesting comment in the chat. Ionut Cosmin says that Corvette and McLaren colours are so similar, and it's like, imagine how I feel as the commentator. But there we go. At least it's a different manufacturing car shape, which does help. Other than when you had the three McLarens of Cripps, Rodriguez, Ballet all side by side, is all spin at turn 11 for Marcus Crawford. And you do sense this is going to be a long night for Marcus, because he is struggling to get that BMW point in a straight line for much of this season. But meanwhile, up front, Hoyer starting to, and the thing that's saving Hoyer from the straight line speed of that Lamborghini behind him is the slipstream from Grigoletto, of course. So I think he might be relying on that.
Of course, yeah. Any advantage you can get to overcome an element of your car that is perhaps weaker compared to your opponent. So yeah, you can use that slipstream to negate a little bit of that disadvantage. But what's coming now is through the slower Sector 2 segment there, turns 9 and 10. They are bunching up into concertina. You don't want to make any contact as best you can. But yeah, Yerne at the moment, he's sitting back a little bit compared to what Mroziek is doing against Michi Hoyer. So yeah, definitely the top three want to be aggressive at the moment. Yerne will probably bide his time, as you said. He's got a great strategic mind to be able to think of other plans if the original one may not be working out. So yeah, he does have that ability, and at the moment, yeah, he's not panicking as long as Hoyer is not the race leader.
Yeah, and meanwhile, if we want to focus on a little bit further behind, Jules Neal holding off Marco De Buono for 5th at the moment. And for Jules Neal, he's in a fight with Farinelli. You can see him in the blue Cadillac, a couple of places further out, just behind Aureli and Brew. So Neal needs to finish in the top 10. Of course, he's equal on points with Farinelli in order to get that automatic qualifying spot in Hypercar for next season. And he's starting to catch up to those leaders. I wonder if Grigoletto, Hoyer, Mroziek, Simčić are all starting to save fuel. And that's allowing Neal and De Buono to just about keep them in touch. They got 1.4 seconds at the moment. If they start saving a little bit too much fuel at this phase, it could open the door for that Ferrari and that Cadillac to really spoil the party here. So I wonder, does Grigoletto dictating the pace at the moment, and now they're about to lap, is that Zach Vermaak then just ahead of them, who gets well out of the way? Does he? Yes, he does. And I think he sees the chasing pack of Hypercars behind, but actually gets in between Mroziek and Simčić. Simčić has to go right up the inside, doesn't lose too much time in the end, but a bit of a heart and mouth moment again that Yerne didn't really need in this point in the race. And now Marco De Buono cuts his way through up the inside of Zach Vermaak.
Yeah, so obviously Zach can only do so much here without ruining even more of his own race. But yeah, definitely when he's meeting cars in the middle of the apex, it's just so uncomfortable. But yeah, I think the ability for all those Hypercars to get through is admirable. So no one was overly aggressive there. They just did what they had to do. And certainly Simčić would perhaps feel a bit hard done by, but he's actually managed to close on Dawid Mroziek. So not the end of the world there. And perhaps Jules Neal looking pretty strong himself, getting through that lapped BMW. So yeah, we have a game on again in Hypercar. So it's definitely not just for car race at the moment. It's definitely opened up a little bit.
Yeah, Neal has not had a great deal of luck recently. He was fighting in the top 5 at Fuji, and then got a penalty for speeding in the pit lane. And then I think he was like 7th or 8th in a sort of battle with Farinelli and Brew in Kota as well. So he just didn't quite have the raw pace in that Cadillac on that occasion to make the difference. But yeah, this is going to be very, very close. Meanwhile, if we're focused on a little bit on the GT3 title fight, Prendergast has pulled 2.2 seconds ahead of Sebastian Wunsch. He's had a textbook start to this one, and it is really going to come down to these two, isn't it, in terms of both of those championships. At the moment, Prendergast is doing enough to seal both the overall and the Endurance Cup, I believe, because if I just check the notes that I've written in the Endurance Cup, which is the one I was a little bit unsure about, Prendergast can win the Endurance Cup if he wins the race. There we go. So it is winner takes all between the two, because they are separated by 8 points, of course. But still, long way to go. Lots of hurdles to climb in this Bahrain 2.4 hours. And let's not forget, when the Hypercars start lapping this group, which won't be too long, maybe a few more minutes time, they're going to have their wits about them to not trip over each other. As now Mannenen's got Mitchell going up his inside, as Mannenen, I think, was just hitting the sand there on the exit of the final corner, and that's going to allow Regan Mitchell to breeze through.
Yeah, the Corvette just dug in a little too deep there on the extra runoff, but he's braking quite late here. In fairness, Mannenen is very brave there on the brakes, but Mitchell, yeah, that's very good. In fairness, there from Regan Mitchell to complete the pass for now, but of course the Corvette will fight back. He's very brave. He wants to make sure this is not a done deal until it's absolutely sure. And in fairness, yeah, the McLaren is understeered. So it's back on for Valtteri Manninen, and he's back through. So the mistake that he could have conceded, yeah, these two are definitely wasting each other's time a lot here. So I know they were quite lonely by themselves here in 7th and 8th in class. But yeah, they're just going to be cut off even more. But yeah, fair play to Manninen there. He did not back down when he was under a lot of pressure. He used 2 different hard braking points to make his point.
Yeah, and reminder, Valtteri Manninen is actually 15th in the championship. He's a point behind Marcus Crawford as well. But with a lot of drivers ahead of him not taking part today, there's a chance Manninen can maybe sneak his way into the top 10. But of course, he's only got 12 points to his name, whereas Kamal Nari in 10th has got 39. So that's a gap of, let's see, 27 points. So he would need to at least finish in the top 2 to even think about getting into the top 10 here. Such is the level of standard of the VMS Pro field. As we now ride on board with the front of, I believe this is this Marcus Crawford? Yes, it is. On his lonesome, I think, waiting for the Hypercars to just emerge from behind him and breeze through in their own personal battle for those titles.
Yeah. So that should be fascinating to watch as it proceeds. We are staying on board with Marcus Crawford, P9 in the BMW. And yeah, it's bound to be lapped cars coming in. Here they are, bang on schedule. So it will be, of course, a chance for the first 4 cars to have a look. Yeah, they should all be safely through. Here we go.
Look at Grigoletto. He's actually started to pull a little bit of a gap, at least 7 or 8 temps there over. Oh, see him struggling on the brakes as they go back to the racing line around the outside of Crawford there, don't they? And you can tell just struggling a little bit for Grit Mrocek and Simoncic there as they had to sort of wait their turn. Now it's Neil and De Bono getting through, followed, of course, by Brew and Farinelli. None of them will want to wait. I wonder if Fabio Grigoletto's upped his pace a little bit because he wants a bit of a buffer in case he gets held up when he gets to the GT3 traffic that's all fighting for positions and bunched together. So I am thinking of Manninen and Mitchell, essentially, who are the next ones up. That's the virtual energy, by the way, you see on the graphic there. 67% left in this stint for Grigoletto. They can refuel it at the pit stop, of course, but it does take a little bit of extra time. So it's something that they've all just got to get used to. If they run out, they could be in for penalties. And now Crawford has planted it in the wall somehow. Oh, is that Marcus Crawford's day done already after just 15 minutes of the race elapsed? That's a huge shame for Marcus.
Yeah, looks like he's, yes, he has withdrawn from the race. He won't be able to continue. And yeah, that does allow the other BMW that was penalised a bit earlier on a chance to get back. Yeah, there he is, Vermack. He should be back in 20th position before too long. So his mistake with the rules in qualifying will give him 1 position back at least. So yeah, he should be able to take 20th place now. There we go. And now more chaos, yes, as the GT3s have to get lapped. And yeah, pushing through is Simoncic as best he can. Yeah,
he's lost 1.3 seconds to Mrocek in front of him. I wonder if he saw what was happening in advance, saw that those 2 GT3s of Manninen and Mitchell were sort of in the way, knew he wasn't going to catch him before the final corner following everybody else, and decided, right, I'll save a bit of fuel here, lift and coast before that final corner very early. And that's why we're seeing him just start to fall into the clutches of Neil and De Buono now. This is Simoncic playing the long game, I believe.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, definitely. So yeah, he doesn't have to panic just yet. Grigoletto has shown no signs of conceding that lead. And of course, that could all change in a minute. But yeah, in the battle for 5th position, Buono is still giving Neil all kinds of indications that he wants to go for the move, try and force a mistake. But of course, you'd have to be side by side by now into the double apex left to stand a chance of an overtaking move, or else hope the opponent spears off into the runoff area. So at the moment, yeah, it's still Jules Neal holding on there soundly for P5. We're just looking backwards from our race leader, Grigoletto, as he laps most likely thin guard at the stage. Yeah, be thin guard, yeah. So yeah, Mroshek, I do see he's taking a slightly higher line, heading towards turn 13. So he's trying to use every advantage he can. And now we will see the McLarens getting lapped in just a moment. So Cripps and Rodriguez, they've got to be ready to form a truce and make sure our hypercars are allowed safely by.
Well, they get down the straight and look at Grigoletto flashing his lights very early in advance, just to let them all know that he's there. I think they would have realized, because the blue flags are shown in this game quite early on. Is Simoncic going to get past Cripps before the first corner? Just about as they go through the corner, he laps it, so he's able to keep with Davin Rochek. He's made up the time and he saved fuel in the process as well. And look who's stuck behind. It's now Neil and Buono who have to wait their turn behind Cripps and Rodriguez there. Oh, threading the needle too. And now Marco De Buono senses an opportunity here to get back past Jules Neal. The winner at Cota goes up the inside then at turn 4. It's going to be side by side as they go towards the S section here. And the Ferrari has got the inside. Neal has to back out there and wisely chooses to do so. So good opportunities in there from Marco De Buono.
Brilliant stuff there from Buono. And that was just what I was thinking about. Oh, in trouble there for probably Farinelli. Yeah, he's stuck behind the McLarens. He's hoping, or Marianski, beg your pardon, he's trying to catch Farinelli. That's what I should have said. So, advantage to Farinelli. Marianski definitely had to be slamming on the brakes there to avoid hitting one of the McLarens there. Now we'll see if Marianski has the means of pushing to regain that time. And yeah, there we go. There's a prime block as well. And that's so frustrating for Farinelli. Marianski will definitely be pleased with that. So it's kind of turnabout is fair play, and it is neutralizing the earlier discomfort there for Marianski. So I think they're back to the way they were before.
Yeah, I tell you what was a bit of a heart-mouth moment there. That was Sebastian Wunsch that Farinelli very nearly ran into the back of. That could have potentially cost Wunsch. I think he saw his title hopes almost about to disappear before his eyes there, until Farinelli just about went full on the brakes there. But now Jules Neal, he wants some revenge on Marco De Buono. He doesn't feel happy that he got caught out there, and he's been very, very impressive, the young French driver this season. Of course, he's only got a couple of sort of R-Factor 2 seasons under his belt already. He's started doing Virtual Endurance Championship with G League Esports, got a podium at Road America, and I think had a fairly strong performance at Sebring as well. He's just him and Julian Guerin share that particular car, and then they fight each other here in usually because Guerin ends up driving the Ferrari, but of course he's not present here today. So Neil, the sole G League Esport representative, but I'm sure France, the whole of France, will be cheering him on in the chat here against the most Italian driver and car combination ever, De Buono, in that Ferrari. So Neil is still putting in a really, really good performance here and doing enough to beat, crucially, Farinelli for that final automatic qualifying spot. But he goes a little bit deep into turns 9 and 10 there, and that's going to lose him touch and drop him into the clutches potentially of Aurelien Barou, the other Frenchman, of course, if Jules Neal isn't careful here.
Exactly, yeah. So Barou definitely wants to prove he's one of the finest Cadillac drivers here if he can catch up to Neil, and of course Grigoletto and race lead. Yeah, we won't really be seeing them battling at the moment, so yeah, definitely a chance for
say that.
Yeah, and here we go. It's BMW looking at a Lamborghini with a BMW also there in range. So this is championship permutations, of course. Hoyer needs to take the race lead and have Simoncic off the podium to become champion. With Grigoletto hanging on in there by nearly 0.7 of a second, is still really going to come down to the strategy and who's going to blink first or last when it comes to the first stop. That could make such a difference.
Even if it just finishes as it is with Mrochek, that crucial buffer in between them, it would go Michi Hoyer's way, of course. So we'll keep you updated on the permutations as we keep going through this race. But at the moment, we are looking at Hoyer winning the overall VMS Pro title in Hypercars, Simoncic winning the Endurance Cup, and then Prendergast taking the full $185 by taking both the Endurance Cup and the overall standings in GT3 at the moment. 5 seconds ahead of Sebastian Wunsch. He's managed these first couple of minutes really, really well. But is Seb Wunsch doing something clever on the fuel? Is Wunsch going to try and double stint the tyres to catch back up and maybe try and leapfrog his way back into the lead? We will have to see. I wouldn't put it past Seb Wunsch trying to outthink Prendergast if he can't outrace him, because that is a legitimate strategy here in Le Mans Ultimate. As we see now, Callum Cripps continuing to soak up the pressure from Rodriguez and Fabien Ballet. I remember Fabien Ballet, after the endurance race at Le Mans, pretty much every race he'd done, he says, "Oh, I always finish behind wherever Callum Cripps finishes. So let's save ourselves 2.4 hours and just class me fifth or sixth behind Callum Cripps then." So that really shows you how Ballet feels about how his season has been going as he goes a little bit deep into that turn 9 and 10 hairpin. But luckily, Rodriguez being held up by Cripps a little bit here, so it shouldn't be too difficult for Fabien Ballet to stay in touch with them as we cut back to the Hypercar lead. Grigoletto doing a superlative job, has got the lead to nearly a second now. It'd be interesting when Grigoletto decides to break for it, or if he's having to use more fuel at the moment and he might have to pit earlier than the three cars behind him, as Farinelli contemplates a move on Aurelian Bru, but then thinks better of it. Look at how much virtual energy De Bueno's used compared to everyone else. Significantly more. Mariansky too on 49%, but it's Grigoletto that's keeping the powder dry in this stint.
Yeah, very good point there. I suppose if he's using up more now, he's definitely got to back it off to make sure he's not completely out of energy by the time the other guys have probably used up 3/4 of it or however much. So yeah, that's so important, just to back it off for a little bit, make sure keep your finger off the energy button for a little while, just so you're not totally drained of your energy by a certain point in the race. So yeah, still 2 hours 17 minutes to go. And yeah, there's just a lot of drivers trying to figure out, how am I gonna strike when the iron's hot? When is my moment coming? And speaking of moments, it's another battle between Mitchell and Mannanen. They're definitely putting on the spectacular spectacle for us. So let's see if there is any way through again for Mitchell, and making sure there's no ability for Mannanen to use the late braking, Ed, as we saw a little while ago. This time Mannanen uses the inside line to defend from Mitchell's attacks, and he uses all the track, whereas Mitchell tried to be a bit more gentle on his turn in, using the outside line.
Yeah, it's always interesting to see GT3s going battling close together. When we had the contender race here a few weeks ago, we actually saw a really, really good lead fight, a very good defense drive from Marin Basia, fighting against Vaskin Simonian. And I think Lucas cautioned Masic Kovcik, as we see always that Quidel in trouble because he dropped behind David Levy again. So, there he is, he's lost the wheel. So Quidel has completely gone straight on there. That to me looks like maybe potentially either a throttle issue or he's been tapped around by another car. Oh, he's going to try and continue 3 wheels on his wagon.
On the front right is vanished. That's the last corner, yeah. That's very wide open.
Short trip to the pits, but that's not ideal. I wonder maybe he hit the curb there. Sadly, no replays as of yet that we can use on the broadcast, so we will have to deconstruct this. Quidel cuts across the track, waits for the gap to do so.
Yeah.
But in endurance race, of course, for Gaetan Quidel, there's still good points up for grabs here, because even if you finish, let's see, how many, there's 11, so there's still a point up for grabs if you can get to the end of this race. And I'm just trying to see what that would do for Quidel in the overall championship. He is last at the moment, and his best finish is 11th, with just 1 point to his name in Spa, round 3, 4, and 6 as well. So yeah, this is the battle to finish on 5 points rather than 4, and I think Quidel has decided it's not worth continuing. But well, they at least make it back to the pits there. Whatever happened, it was good to see him at least clear the yellow flag so racing could continue behind him. So very, very thoughtful and considerate actually from Gaetan Quidel, despite whatever misfortune happened there. I suspect maybe there might have been a screen freeze or something beyond his control. As our 4 leaders bunching up together again. Grigoletto has not been able to escape. And that really opens up the door strategically for Hoyer, Mrocek, Simoncic, the triumvirate behind, looking to work together to outfox the Italian here. And they've been biding their time very, very patiently indeed. If I were Grigoletto, I'd be feeling a bit worried at this stage.
Yes, he would have needed to have cleared these drivers by now, knowing just what incredible pace we saw in qualifying. But that could be all for naught now. The open door. Michi Hoyer wants to step in and take his part and into the race lead to make an extra advantage in the championship. Yes, he will lead. Grigoletto concedes at last. He's been hanging on in there for about 25 minutes, but no longer. Michi Hoyer leads and is definitely champion as things stand, and Jurni Simoncic must respond.
Here we go. He's trying to go round the outside of Mrocek. They bang doors. Jurni Simoncic desperate to get onto the podium to keep Michi Hoyer in sight at least, because he knows he's got clear track ahead of him and he has muscled his way through. Mrocek decided to lift off around the outside there. So if you want it that badly, Jurni, you can have it then. And I'll just stay in behind, save fuel, while you waste yours fighting away with Fabio Grigoletto, is at least what Mrocek is probably hoping, as we see Prendergast there. Ooh, I think that's just Quidel dropping down the standing, isn't it? I thought Seb Wunsch had trouble there. But Wunsch still 6.8 seconds behind. Prendergast is checking out at the moment. What an absolutely superb performance. This could be 3 wins in a row, and perhaps the sweetest one for Prendergast, because it's the one that's going to bank him. He's already got $60 to his name. He's looking for another 185 today. That could be what sort of full earnings is Prendergast staring down the barrel of? What's 185 plus 60? That's $240. That's the whole prize pot, the maximum winnings that Kieran Prendergast could come away with. And that's quite the turnaround for a man who didn't win a race until round 6 this season.
Yeah, that's exceptional. Yeah, very healthy prize packet for him there. Can definitely invest that wisely. And here we go, Grigoletto. If this carries on, then yeah, it will be a head-to-head battle for our championship contenders, Hoyer and Simoncic in the BMWs. They will get their chance to compete for the title. And if, of course, you're saying Simoncic in P2 behind Hoyer means that Simoncic is champion. So this is his moment. He doesn't have much longer to think about it, because Michi is showing that pace that I was hoping to see from Fabio to pull clear over second now. Oh, and Mrocek wants to find a bit of opportunism and a bit of payback, but it's not to be, and that's a little bit of a relief there for Fabio Grigoletto to, a little bit of reprieve, just so. Oh, he's understeered there out of 10. So yeah, that reprieve. It's so precarious
fragile,
for him now. Yeah, fragile. Yes, exactly. So
precarious is better. I should have gone for that. Anyway.
Well, both are perfectly valid, I think. So,
but that's allowing Hoyer, look, 1.6 seconds up the road now. Michi is loving this, and Jurni is absolutely hating it. Just a correction, by the way, even if Simoncic could get past Grigoletto, that would not be enough to make the difference. Hoyer would be looking at 39 points. Simoncic in second would be getting 28 points. And that's more than the 7-point difference in terms of the lead that Simoncic has. So it would be a narrow loss. Look up the inside. Our three McLarens squabbling away, and that's Ballet up the inside, muscling his way past Michel Rodriguez in the 59. The 95 has gotten through by hook or by crook. And there we go. Michel Rodriguez getting a rude awakening. He was gearing up for a move on Callum Cripps, and Ballet said, well, if you're not going to do it, maybe it's my turn. I've got a decent McLaren here as well. But yeah, just going back to Simoncic and Mrocek, you saw Simoncic weaving as well after Mrocek tried to get payback around the outside there. And I think that was, I apologize if anybody was listening to Jurni's stream, because I imagine he might have been saying a brief expletive there, asking to the words to the effect of, what are you doing, David? I'm trying to win this championship. Don't mess it up for me now.
Yeah, so yeah, my mistake, just getting my permutations mixed up. So yeah, winner, take all, as you were saying. So
I spent ages on that sheet.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, just getting the
don't
lines crossed. So yeah.
Interesting comment in the chat. Daniele Brambilla says, Triumvirate wasn't on my bingo card tonight. Yes, certainly. And I think that's not proved to be the case, because Hoyer, Simoncic and Mrocek have all turned on each other since I said that. Every man for himself, it seems.
Yeah, so let's give Mitchell and Mannanen another look in here.
Oh,
and that is Mitchell through now in the McLaren, but snap oversteer costing him dearly. So he'll just have to slot it back in behind the Corvette and try again. yeah, it's just so agonizing to know you can get past this car. You know how to do it, but it's just that final bit of precision necessary to actually put Valtteri Maninen behind you. So yeah, Maninen will not yield under any circumstance, and yeah, that's another example of it in this battle for 17th overall. And he'll just be about 7th or 8th in class, I'd say. So yeah, this is just so remarkable to watch. They're really stealing the spotlight.
Yeah, it is frustrating, you're right, because that was a brilliant move. He had the move done through 9, and then on the exit of 10, he just went a little bit wide, squirrely on the power over the curb, and then had to wrestle for control there. So it's not so much Mitchell versus Manningen as it is Mitchell versus the machine, to
Yes.
paraphrase an animated movie title. But there we go. Look at Prendergast extending the gap even further, 8.2 seconds. He is doing absolutely everything he needs to do here, and that is sort of playing Wunsch's strategic options out of the picture then, as we are almost getting to the end of the GT3 fuel tanks here. They can last about 40-45 minutes or so, maybe 50 if you really stretch it. But the Hypercars, I have seen Hypercars at Brazil, Interlagos, do a full hour in the sprint race. But in endurance, you might be better served actually doing a sort of 45-minute stint and then pitting for more fuel. As we see, look, they're starting to get much lower on their virtual energy here. So Aurelien Bru has an inside front, almost under rotation there, as he's now caught right up to the back of Jules Neal, who is now losing touch of Marco De Bueno, who's sort of in no man's land, about 2 seconds off the top 4 here. But Jules Neal knows he needs to keep Bru behind, because if Bru gets through, then he might have to face Farinelli, who's fighting with for that final qualifying spot for next season in the top 10. So it is absolutely crucial Neal keeps both of these Cadillacs at bay here, and he's doing a solid job so far, but the pressure, it's only going to get worse from here on in, as now we see more lapping going on, as now Simoncic is lining up Grigoletto here.
Yeah, now this really must be the chance now, using a bit of slipstream, I'm sure, to narrow the gap. Yeah, and even a bit of traffic there will perhaps give Fabio some rest again. Won't be for much longer though, as Michi Hoyer continues to pull a significant gap there. Could be 3 seconds by the time I finish the sentence. Yeah, there we go, just about 3 seconds. And yeah, this is definitely the pressure situation for Simoncic. He's got to get through and make sure he can go head to head for the championship honors. Switching the camera now, you can see Ballet and Cripps have to allow the number 99 Porsche by. Mariansky, yes. He's used up, I think, a lot more energy compared to everyone else in Hypercars. So yeah, that is a case of, yeah, he's got to back it down now and just keep pushing on to make sure he can potentially battle Farinelli for 8th place.
Yeah, meanwhile, I think Fabien Ballet must be sick to death at the back of the McLaren of Callum Cripps, because he knows every inch of it, having spent most of the season stuck behind him, as I say. So yeah, Fabien he's had some good qualifying, he's had some good individual performances, but in terms of he's not really been on the podium this season, and he is sort of in the overall standings, isn't he? He is, where was he going into this one? He was 5th overall, so he's on 61 points. In that, it's crucial he got by Rodriguez, because he's actually only about 7 points behind him in the championship. So that's the difference of doubling his prize money to $30 if he can pull off that 7-point swing he needs. Difference between where are they in class? This is the battle, of course, for 3rd, which Cripps is in. That would be Ballet 4th, Rodriguez 5th, and that is the difference between 19 points for 4th and 16. So that's only a 3-point swing. He would need to get on the podium here, Ballet, in order to beat Rodriguez in the GT3 point stable.
Yeah, that is definitely important for Rodriguez's perspective. He's pushing as hard as he can now. But yeah, side by side go the McLarens, Cripps and Ballet. And still, Cripps is holding on as best he can. Yeah, it's all about turn 4. You can definitely attack into that corner if you're ready to go side by side. We saw, of course, with Manningen and Mitchell. Oh, and there we go. The Levis Porsche has gotten by as well.
Ooh.
Yeah, that will be in the past now. They've got to really focus on each other again, with Rodriguez watching on, hoping to pick off one of these drivers. Yeah, a little wobble there for Cripps. Don't lose the rear end traction, whatever you do. And yeah, 3 abreast almost. It could be 3 in a queue, I suppose. So close, and everyone will have to cooperate, but ready for an attack at any moment.
Yeah, and it was interesting, last time at Akota, Cripps was actually leading that fight for the podium and made a mistake through the S's, which was such a high-speed section, and that allowed Rodriguez and Mitchell through, with Rodriguez taking the podium on that occasion. So it feels like Michel Rodriguez is sort of hoping the 2 in front of him fight, and he can reap the benefits later on. And look, you can see how much pressure Simičić is under, because he's used more virtual energy than anybody else that he's fighting with here. With Grigoletto's even got 1% more than him. We saw how much he was using to try and pull away early doors. Yeah, you can see Michi Hoyer has not exactly broken away. He started saving a little bit of fuel here and there. The gap just steady at 2 seconds to Grigoletto. Hoyer knows that there's a long way to go. He doesn't need to just chew for his fuel and then maybe pit a few laps earlier than he'd really want to. He can sort of extend a bit here and force Grigoletto, Simičić and Rocek to sort of respond to what he does, essentially. But yeah, now Ballet is gearing up on another attack than Callum Cripps. And Cripps was had a really strong end to this season, now finds himself under pressure once again. Ballet looking to get one over on him, and Cripps sort of moved to the middle of the road there to deny him very, very early on. And now Ballet being backed into Rodriguez. So very smart tactical driving from Callum Cripps. Knows he's maybe not the fastest of that trio, but looking to still play the game to his advantage by blocking as effectively as possible. Simičić, he has I would say looking frustrated, but knowing Yerny Simičić, he's an incredibly patient man, and I think he is trying to think his way past Grigoletto rather than brute forcing his way through, which is classic Yerny Simičić strategic thinking, and you'd love to see it.
Yeah, but yeah, eventually, if Hoyer's lead is not growing any further, he can perhaps, he is still hovering at 3 seconds, so he can perhaps use that patience to his advantage. But when he picks his moment, we know Simičić well, he's got to absolutely nail it. And whatever Fabio Grigoletto can do about it, yeah, it's definitely the stress building, knowing that he was the pole sitter. And he was holding on to the lead very well early on. But eventually, Hoyer was brave enough. And now down the inside is the door open for Simičić attack. It's closed on him, in fairness, but it's all about the second phase. And this is definitely a lineup for turn 4. But Rocek on the high line will prove a very, very capable distraction. But down the inside goes Yerny Simičić. Is he available to go through, or will David go through?
Couldn't do it, David.
Wheel.
Side by side they go, and it's Simičić that squeezes through into turn 5. Their crucial move for him in this race. Grigoletto is cleared, and now it's Davin Rocek's turn to fight with him over 3rd place in the championship. Now Grigoletto goes from pole to 3rd, but Yerny Simičić, he had to really show his nose. Almost did the Fernando Alonso onto the sand move into turn 4, didn't he? All the time you have to leave the space, of course, but space was left. Simičić made it through. And now the gap, in all that battling, they've lost another second to Hoyer. The gap, 3.6 seconds then. So, Yerny, this will be interesting now. Does he play the long game, save a bit of fuel, or does he push like crazy to keep in sight? Farinelli has dropped it and fallen to 9th. That's good news for Jules Neal, but bad news for the Italian now, because that is going to make his job here much harder, as he's had a spin, I think, into turn 9 and 10.
Yeah, that was unfortunate all by himself. Marianski profits from that mistake. Yeah, it could be a chance for Farinelli to regroup and think it's almost time to pit. But yeah, definitely a little while to go just yet, as we're heading towards the 2-hour mark. So we've completed the first 40 minutes, but still plenty more to go. As you can see, our timing tower shows the position changes. Marianski +3 there in the mid-pack of Hypercar. But yeah, Grigoletto -2 as the championship contenders. Hoyer is in championship position at the moment. Winner takes all. And Yerny Simičić there gaining the 1 position there for 2nd, has the chance to go head-to-head. And then, of course, in LMGT3s, it's been a very stable top 5, no changes. It was more Vermac. He cost himself by taking 1 lap extra in qualifying. So he took a penalty, down 3. Thingard was able to go up 1. And then Mananen, with his hard graft battling, gains 2 places.
Yeah, and look at this, Grigoletto still just about keeping Simoncic in sight, but now Davin Rocek, I think, is starting to feel a little bit annoyed here because he tried to move on Simoncic, didn't work. Now he's being held up by Grigoletto, and De Buono is only about 2.7 seconds behind now, starting to catch both of them as all. Jules Neal has a little moment through turn 10, and now Aurelian Brew is all over his tail as they almost threaten to flash their lights at one another. Brew's going to try and slingshot his way up the inside into turn 11. Neal slots to the outside, has to concede, and that is Aurelian Brew through into the top 6 there. Another impressive move from the Frenchman on his fellow countryman now. And Jules Neal is going to have to settle in for 7th position here. Still a good 9 seconds, I think, 9 or 8 seconds ahead of Daniele Farinelli, his crucial rival in the championship. But Aurelian Brew, he is looking good, I think, doing enough to take what would be the final prize money paying position in the overall Hypercar standings in 5th over Marco De Buono, if he's just 1 place behind him, of course. But it is only... how many points between them? 1 point between them, actually. No, De Buono is doing enough. So Brew, no wonder he was eager to get through. He needs to get a move on if he wants those $15.
Yeah, that's a great motivator, just to dig deep and carry on to get an extra $15 of prize money. And now Simoncic has pulled a gap over Fabio Grigoletto. It's over a second now. So if anything, David Mroszek is in contention to have a crack at the Cadillac. So we'll see how that develops. But yeah, Jörni, this is definitely the chance to finally be rid of those battles. He can now concentrate on lap time, compare with Michi Hoyer, and then think about his strategy, dial in a good one. Think about the tyres, of course. He used that to his advantage last time out. Oh, and an understeer there for Grigoletto, so he's lost pace out of turn 10, and this is Mroszek's opportunity to see what happened just a moment ago with Brew against Neal, and here he goes down the inside, door to door, contact is made, but Mroszek is through.
Yeah, you can tell Grigoletto not happy about that. Tried to hold it around the outside, but it's always difficult because on the inside, if somebody tries to hold it around the outside, there's understeers. Oh, we see Mananen and Mitchell in the way of both of them. And a little bit of contact made through turn 15, that penultimate corner there. And they just about survived. No flashing this time. I think that was just a bad timing, as now De Buono is trying to get past both of them in a hurry there, because the more they fight, the more it brings De Buono into that podium squabble, especially with Brew now a little bit of a threat to those $15 that are heading Marco De Buono's way. But yeah, Fabio Grigoletto losing that slot on the podium now. And now Mroszek could get himself back in the mix with Hoyer and Simoncic here. So Simoncic was just starting to lap really competitive times. We do see some comments in the chat. Ianit Cosmin says, run Michi, run. And Banar TV says, Michi is seriously quick. Cosmin, this is bonk in description of that move with Simoncic and Mroszek and Grigoletto, sorry. So that's quite funny. But Callum Cripps continuing to defend brilliantly from his old sparring partner, Fabian Ballet, the German versus the Englishman. And Ballet, who, of course, a mainstay in R Factor 2, competed for TX3, Virtual Drivers by TX3, and the Valet Esports team in the, I think it was the Virtual Endurance Championship Division 2 that Ballet was really successful with Valet, among other endurance series as well. So good to see him transition into GT3, and now desperate to get on the podium to get some more prize money to his name, to double his prize money if he can do that. But look at that, 0.6 faster was Simoncic the previous lap. Look at 2.5 seconds. And is this where Hoyer, under maximum pressure, starts to find that he just doesn't have that extra little bit of pace? He's got 2% more virtual energy, but yeah, no, Simoncic has found the race pace he's needed. Now he's got that clear air in which to use it.
Yeah, so definitely a case of the energy is really starting to run out. Everyone is below 21%. It's really Neal the highest on 20 on our last check there. So yeah, it's definitely been a long stint. But what needs to be done now is perhaps use the light fuel load to your advantage now rather than the energy on its own. So yeah, you still have time while the tires are just about in their window. you can get a few more laps out of them on the low fuel before you have to come in for a stop. And this McLaren queue, Cripps, Ballet, and Rodriguez, it's still unbroken. They're very, very difficult to separate. Of course, Prendergast and Wunsch, they're the championship contenders. And it's Prendergast ahead by 12 seconds. And then Cripps is another 4.5 seconds behind Wunsch. So, yeah, again, this is such valuable time in class for the third place position in LMGT3 on the line here. There it is on the timing tower. And Ballet tries to go a little bit more towards the outside curbs on turn 9 into 10. And Rodriguez is just watching and waiting to see what will happen, because he just cannot find an obvious point to commit. And there is, of course, the 4 race leaders in the background. They're going to ask for the blue flags very soon.
Yeah, Ballet, I think, starting to look a bit impatient behind Callum Cripps now. By the way, speaking of which, in the Endurance Cup, Cripps and Ballet have got outside shots at taking home the full prize money there. There's the $60. Cripps needs to win with Prendergast 4th or worse and Wunsch 7th or worse. And Ballet needs to win with Prendergast 5th or worse and Wunsch 8th or worse. Because they're so close, Ballet and Cripps, that really whichever one finishes ahead is looking good for that sort of third in the championship. They're 6 points apart, essentially, at the moment, as things stand. And now Rodriguez starting to evolve, because Hoyer is going to go 3 wide with all of them as he passes them down the straight. And this is Ballet's best shot yet, as through comes Simoncic now as well.
Yeah, that's it. We'll see, using perhaps a chance to commit one side rather than sitting in the middle. Ballet so close, but no regards yet. And Mroszek, yeah, he's going to duck to the outside, making sure no one gets in his way. Oh, there we go. He's using the sand, I suppose, the slight gravel. And yeah, that could be a chance for Grigoletto to fight back. So yeah, that was very extreme, but it had to be done.
That was a sort of moving chicane there. And Davin Rotchik said, I'm not having any part of this. I'm going to go round the outside off track to avoid all of it. But like, you can't really blame him now. Now it's De Buono's turn. And he's come upon not the greatest point of the track, because he's only really got this small little half straight before he gets into sort of 9 and 10 here. He's going to try and go up the inside, and Cripps cuts him off up the inside there. That's not ideal for Marco De Buono. He's still sandwiched now between these McLarens. And now Aurelien Bru is going to get within 1.4 seconds then. He's going to have a much easier time clearing them before turn 11 here. Whoa, and Farinelli off track again.
Wow, whoa.
And he just avoids the wall.
Farinelli again, yeah, that's not the first time at that segment of the course. So, yeah, got to be very careful now. Yeah, De Buono just trying his best to negotiate the traffic, trying to steer clear of Bru in the battle for P5 overall in Hypercar as well. So, yeah, Farinelli having a really tough time. Maybe his stint, he's hit the absolute limit of it, and he may need to think of a plan B if necessary.
Yeah, we are getting fairly close to those pit stops. We're 50 minutes into the race, aren't we? Roughly, if we started at we started with 2 minutes 40 to go. It's now 1 hour 51, not 1 minute 51, but 1 hour 51 to go. So yeah, we're expecting maybe 5, 6, 7 minutes of fuel, depending on who has saved more and who has saved the least. Is up the inside of, I think that's Prendergast there, that we see Michi Hoyer. So our 2 class leaders go briefly side by side. Hoyer has still got a little bit more virtuality, 12% compared to Simoncic. And yeah, I think in the next lap or 2, we should be seeing a couple of them coming in then.
Yeah, it shouldn't be that much longer. And there we go, D on board with Levis there, I think, as he lets...
Simoncic just lost a bit of time here.
Yeah.
Maybe behind either Wunsch or Prendergast, because now Mroczek's caught right back up to the rear.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah, this is definitely David's opportunity to claw back his chance to certainly be a top contender. So Grigoletto, of course, was the driver who was keeping stock on our championship contenders. So if Mroczek can overtake Simoncic, it will be a new peak for David to be P2 in this race. And it will put enormous stress on Simoncic's shoulders, knowing that he's got to win the battle head-to-head with Hoyer to become champion.
Or is this Yerne saving fuel? He's thinking,
Yeah,
there's
that's
no point blowing
definitely.
through virtual energy, cutting up to Hoyer, coming into the pits ahead, and then Hoyer gets to dictate strategy. If I save a bit here, and Hoyer, of course, has got 2% more at the present moment as well. So I think Hoyer is running along, and Yerne senses that he might have to do the same here to stay in the mix, because otherwise, if Hoyer is sort of pitting later, he's got more strategic options later on, can sort of do the splash and dash near the end. It's Prendergast that pits first then from the lead in GT3. Are any of the rest of the GT3s going to run longer? Does Seb Wunsch come in? Looks like the triumvirate of McLaren, similar McLarens, are all staying out as well. Oh, that is interesting. Maybe Kieran Prendergast was using a lot more fuel than the rest of the GT3 frontrunners to try and build that lead as big as it could be.
Yeah, so yeah, when you have a race lead of significant distance, like about 5 or 6
Over
seconds,
12
you have
seconds.
a chance to.
Yeah, over 12 seconds.
Yeah, it's really was 12 seconds. Yeah, so even more than that. But yeah, definitely those cars behind would have all had a chance to react if they felt like it, but they do not want to do that. They want to follow their own path, or maybe want to go a little bit longer, eking out extra fuel and tire life to make sure that they can try and overcut. Yeah, definitely the benefit of being the leader. You can do what you had planned to do in the first place after a very clean stint, and then pushing hard to fight back as best he can. So yeah, Prendergast should be back out on circuit in a few moments' time, and he can get back to work.
Yeah, brief yellow flag there. Mitchell joins Prendergast in the pits, and that's Fabien Ballet out of the race.
Oh no!
So potentially there was an issue while he was running behind Cripps. I think he may have been disconnected.
Yeah,
this happened to him in Monza. Look, Mariansky only 0.4% of virtual energy, so he's surely got to come in because he doesn't want to risk a drive-through penalty or disqualification here. So Kemper Mariansky is surely going to be our first hypercar to pit in here because he's out of options. Oh, and it's Bueno and Brew that are going to join him as well on this lap.
Yes, indeed. So yeah, some of our battlers just off the podium in Hypercar are all ready to pit.
Well, did Farinelli go past Mariansky? Well, because Mariansky was really slow into the pits, almost just coasting in. Oh, and you can see his red there, so that really shows you just how low he was on virtual energy there. Oh, he might have overused it as well. That could have been...
oh, dear.
Oh, dear. So Mariansky absolutely cool. I thought he had 0.4 left. It was tight, but I thought he had just had enough. But clearly Mariansky not happy at all there and having to... retire, I think, almost against his will more than anything else.
Wunsch and Rodriguez in, so this is crucial for LM GT3, as we see now.
Was that Brew ahead of Bono? No, he isn't. Sorry. Yeah, no, Brew's still just behind.
And he's gotten the better of Brew here, so very close, nearly fantastic pit stop for the Cadillac of Brew. Would have jumped De Bono in the pits, but it has not occurred this time. And now in the race lead, Michi Hoyer. Surely by now he's got to be ready for a pit stop. Yellow flag alert there, but nothing too serious. And yeah, devastation there for Mariansky to miss out on the remainder of this race.
Oh, and that's Ballet reconnecting in. And of course, this is exactly what happened to him at Monza as well. And he was disconnected from the lead at Monza, so it was even more painful. As in comes Simoncic with Marocchik. Braking super late, and it's Grigoletto following him as well. Hoyer going another lap there, so looks like none of these three could stretch much longer. So Hoyer saving all that fuel behind Grigoletto. Now this is where he reaps the benefits.
Yeah, so off we go now with Cripps and Rodriguez. Still nothing to separate them. Prendergast already back into the lead. Well, if you exclude Thingard, he should be hitting in a short while. So Thingard is going to briefly lead LMGT3, but yeah, Prendergast has jumped everybody he needed to in the pit lane battle. And then watching and waiting to see what happens next. That will be Vandonen just exiting the pits. We should see.
Yeah, there could be a double stint on tyres here. From any of our leaders. And Simoncic, that gets away first. Marocchik's going to be close. I think David Marocchik is maybe trying to double. Oh, just gets out ahead. So it looks like they're all as they were then. But very, very close between Simoncic, Marocchik and Grigoletto. And now Simoncic will get the undercut of here, of course. He was 3 seconds behind Michi Hoyer at least when they came into the pits, and Hoyer will not be aware of exactly what's going on. He will be pushing to make sure he still comes out ahead with the overcut. David Levy now exiting the pits as well. You can see the recharged, almost virtual energy. De Bono has got 78%, Brew 85, Farinelli 87 as well. I think Simic, Grigoletto not quite updated just yet, as now surely Hoyer is going to have to come in now. Only 3% left.
Yeah, he ducks in and he has a near 80-second lead as they head in. So yeah, this will all evaporate on him as he will be able to change tires, refuel, and get more energy plugged in. So Simoncic has got to really go for it now while he has the fresh tires. And across the line will be Prendergast to assume the lead in class again. So Dingard has taken to the pits.
Yeah, Fingard lost a pit. He actually stretched the field more than all the other GD3s. So he's definitely trying something different, and why not? Because he needs to try and get into that sort of top 5 now, especially with Ballet out the way. It does sort of open things up strategically. Maybe Fingard is still harboring hope. So podium, he leaves the pits now, but he's still got quite the gap to Rodriguez then. Where's it going to come out relative to Mitchell and Manninen? That's the more crucial one here. Riga Mitchell has cleared Vatu Manninen by 8 seconds now, and crucially for him. So could be quite close with Luca Fingard on the pit exit here, but also keep your eyes on that Simic-Hoyer battle, which has got way more bigger permutations, and Manninen is in the way at the final corner just briefly. Delays Ione Simic, and is that just going to allow Michi Hoyer to comfortably come out ahead here?
I'm not so sure. Yeah, you can see Hoyer's not going to be able to exit the speed limit zone. And Simoncic takes the lead. Hoyer is down to P4 as Grigoletto returns to the podium, making sure Manninen is lapped. So yeah, Hoyer going that little bit longer in the stint has cost him track position. So we'll see what the logic was there, as Marco De Buono is going to sense this opportunity while Hoyer's tires are still cold.
Yeah, but Hoyer now has got plenty of fuel to play with. Strategically, it gives him more options, and he's got the slightly fresher tires. As long as he can keep De Buono behind him, he shouldn't lose too much ground to those leaders with that 7.9 second gap to Grigoletto now. As look how squirrely it is. This is the most difficult moment of the race for Hoyer. Needs to keep his head because he's lost track position, like you say, Owen, but there's still a chance he could get through here. As we see also virtual energy is not correct on the overlay, so I think that's literally just not updating for Hoyer, but the others looked about right to me. It was like still like sort of 80% for the other leaders who'd hit the lap before essentially, and now we see it's Hoyer's turn. Big drift. Something went horribly wrong for Jules Neal there, and that shows you Neal getting really excited because he sees De Buono being held up by Hoyer and thinks, I'm still in the podium fight here. And yeah, he's a little bit worried about Aureli and Brew. Neal has got back in front of Brew, hasn't he, in the pit stop phase here. So I wonder, has Jules Neal maybe double stinted the tyres to get back ahead of his fellow countrymen here?
Yeah, Alexification in YouTube chat says Hoyer took tyres, Grigoletto, Simoncic and Roshek didn't. So that's a vital piece of information. We appreciate that. Thank you.
So all of our 3 leaders double stinting then. Interestingly, there Grigoletto with the most virtual energy of them, and then Hoyer on 82%, of course, having just come out the pits the previous lap then. But now Morocek, could he spoil this strategy for Simoncic by fighting him? Because they're both on more worn tyres than Hoyer. If they fight each other, Hoyer is going to coast up to the back of them and start to pick them off one by one. But if they sort of work together, and it might be to both of their benefit, and Michi might sort of struggle just to overtake this Grigoletto separated on his own. And now, in fact, Hoyer still now pulling a 1.7 gap to De Buono. So he's got the Ferrari covered, and now he's starting to gain time on Grigoletto. Look, the gap just dipping below 7 seconds now. So yeah, the fresh tyres, crucial that Hoyer uses them while he's got the delta over them at this phase.
Yeah, so as the gap hovers around half a second here for the lead of the race at the moment. 1 minute. Or 1 hour 40. Yeah, no, I've made the same mistake now. 1 hour 40 to go.
So yeah, we're an hour in.
Yeah, an hour gone. So 1 hour 40 to go. So yeah, we've still plenty more running to come. And yeah, indeed, to lose Mariansky there on the energy depletion there out of the race. So yeah, we have 9 hypercars remaining. And indeed, Prendergast will just leap over Mariansky there to go 10th overall, and of course leading LMGT3, which is exactly what he needs to become the champion in this season 1. So yeah, that's according to plan for Prendergast.
Yeah, interesting in terms of the virtual energy. What's on Yerne Simčić's stream is different to what's on our stream, so we're not sure exactly how helpful the graphic will be when we bring it up. But certainly, what hasn't changed in either stream is that it's that bright green Lamborghini of Marocek looking to end the season with his second win. And of course, his best result in endurance races this season was that 3rd position in Circuit de la Sarthe, where Michi Hoyer actually was able to outsmart them. Yerne Simčić actually won Circuit de la Sarthe by using the same set tyres throughout the race. He did a almost quintuple stint on them, whereas Hoyer changed, I think, near the end and got within about 2 seconds exactly of victory, despite being, I think, more than 10 seconds behind earlier in the race. So yeah, it was a really good drive by both of them, and it really sort of sums up the season in a way between the both of them, with Simčić having just that little bit in hand at the end. But at the moment, you have to say Hoyer, who gets now within 5 seconds of Grigoletto, is quite quickly catching all of them, is starting to get back into his groove here, knows strategically the cards can fall back into his lap here, even if it doesn't come down to a race where he can do 1 stop less by stretching the field. There might be, as I say, that splash and dash to his advantage. Even with just a 1 lap, that stretches out. It can become 2 laps for the second stop as well. And I think we're definitely looking at potentially a 3-stop race for these hypercars here.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
They can do 50 minutes each, and it's a sort of 2.4 hours. You sort of got to split the difference somewhere with that final stop.
Yeah, now we're giving Kieran Prendergast another look in here. He's nearly 19 seconds ahead of Sebastian Wunsch, with the halfway point still a little bit away for all of our drivers tonight. And yeah, Cripps another 6 seconds back in P3. So that fascinating McLaren triple battle came to an unfortunate end with Ballet retiring. So we do have less to consider in a head-to-head situation in LMGT3s at the moment. But yeah, here we go with Michi Hoyer just cutting through there against Rodriguez. So his concern now is to get back on the podium using his fresh tyres to his benefit. So you go, you can see Grigoletto in the foreground is being closed down. So the last lap was over a second in Hoyer's favour there, 1.5 seconds nearly. So yeah, this is really good showing on those fresh tyres.
Yeah, you can almost feel Rodriguez being a bit annoyed that Michi caught him right at the apex of turn 1 there, much to his chagrin. And now it's Michi's, as you say, desperately trying to catch up to the back of Grigoletto. He's taking chunks out of him at the moment. So getting track position is important, but I think really the only reason Simčić did it is because they all wanted to get out ahead of Michi Hoyer, and this is working really well for Simčić because now Hoyer has got to pass Grigoletto and Marocek, as long as Yerne can keep Marocek behind him, of course, which is never a guarantee. David might go rogue here if he gets the opportunity, given what we saw in the first stint, of course. And now we see De Buono starting to be caught by Jules Neal again, who he passed, of course, earlier on in the race. Neal has just had great pace after the pit stop, hasn't he? He was able to get past and jump Aurelien Bru, as he has to wait his moment there. That was actually quite sensible there, not to trip up over the 59 McLaren there of that's either Cripps or Rodriguez. It's Cripps, of course. So that actually gives De Buono a little bit of breathing room. But yeah, up until that point, Neal was just starting to put pressure on him. And speaking of putting pressure on, Marocek still within those 7 tenths. Then you can see in the distance the sort of the red blob is Grigoletto, and the sort of blob with the purple headlights, that's Michi Hoyer then. The most menacing blob on the horizon is the one with the fresh tyres on, unsurprisingly. In the desert, a little bit of... Is this championship a mirage for Yerne Simčić? Is Michi going to get to the Oasis first? Or can Simčić make this a reality? It remains to be seen, really.
You've taken all my desert puns there. So
all the cliches.
Yeah. We will have as much of the fun as possible, but it's all hard work now for Hoyer. Getting very close now to Fabio Grigoletto for P3 in the race. So yeah, definitely a huge gain again. Nearly 2 seconds taken out with the deficit in that last lap. So those fresh tires are working a treat for Hoyer and his BMW. What happens next is really fascinating to contemplate. Grigoletto just has to figure out what to do in the corners, especially. He could perhaps use the excellent straight line speed of the Cadillac just to help him out for a little bit. But at the moment, yeah, definitely under braking, you can just see how rapid that BMW is, using every bit of the track. As of course, there's one of our lapped McLarens there, Mitchell, I presume. So
Prendergast.
Prendergast. Oh yeah, of course, Prendergast in the lead. My mistake.
It's the red one. It's Prendergast.
Yes,
indeed,
so,
yeah. Easy to remember. Oh, Grigoletto. Look at that. The front grille glowing a menacing purple then, as Hoyer gets closer and closer, inches away from third position now. He pulls the inside, he flashes his lights. Grigoletto, has he got anything to fight with here? No, surely on those worn tyres, it's going to be an easy position. Michi Hoyer, the brakes glowing intentionally as he goes into that first corner, and he's through into third position, and the BMW now free to chase down Davin Rokcek and Jene Simoncic. This is where, of course, the other thing that's going on here is it could be that at the second stop we see a sort of inverse scenario where Grigoletto, Rokcek and Simoncic have to put fresh tyres on, and Hoyer might be able to double stint himself. But it depends, of course, how confident they're feeling. And, is this...
Mannenen's out.
Oh, dear. So Manninen has... I think you're right. Potentially been disconnected, much like we saw with Ballet. We did see Ballet briefly get back into the race. There was the visual glitch where he was driving the safety cars, all a little wide from Jene. Even Jene Simoncic is starting to struggle on these old tyres now, and now he knows that Hoyer is through on Grigoletto, and that Grigoletto wasn't able to hold up anywhere near as long as I think Jene was banking on. Now he is starting to feel the heat in the desert here from that Lamborghini, and Rokcek's starting to force his hand a bit here.
Absolutely, yeah. Jene Simoncic would have preferred to have been let on his merry way here. While the chance for Michi Hoyer to gain on these two drivers is going to happen on schedule, I imagine, if the pace remains as is. So Rokcek for the overall lead. He's just hanging back and now ready for his push on the start-finish straight. It remains just about half a second. But maybe the high-end sixth gear in these hypercars definitely topping out very, very rapidly now. But still, Rokcek has to use cornering ability to make this pass for the lead Ed. But Jene's just doing whatever he can to make that BMW as big as possible.
Yeah, he's certainly been in this scenario before. He's even been teammates with Davin Rokcek. We see Jules Neal getting up to the inside, late on the brakes, a little bit of wild, lurid slide there as the rear starts to complain. Side by side through turn two, round the outside goes Jules Neal, and that's back into fifth position. There he was catching Marco De Bueno for a couple of laps there, and he has patiently bided his time. That's brilliant racecraft from Jules Neal, and he's up into that crucial fifth position. A lot of points coming his way if he can hold on to that one.
Absolutely, yeah. To get himself ahead with such poise as that, he'll be very confident now just to try and make a gap between himself and the Ferrari driver, De Bono. At the moment, yes, 3/4 of a second, so not too shabby. That's still the early days in the lap. Rokcek now hovering nearly 6/10 to 7/10 behind, still waiting to see what he can do to unsettle Simoncic.
This is also interesting position from Rokcek as well, because is he thinking, I need to get past Jene Simoncic before Michi Hoyer catches us on these fresh tyres then? Because he doesn't want to sort of be left wrong foot and sort of like, I waited behind Jene, and by the time Michi caught me, I'd already breezed through my tyres. So he's thinking, all this hard work, I don't want it to be for nothing here, because he's still going for the race win here, whereas I think Simoncic and Hoyer, they are more worried about each other, essentially. But yeah, at the moment, if Simoncic could hold on to the lead, it would be championship. But he's, as I say, rear drifting. You can see how much Hoyer's pushing there. And has that maybe cost him a couple of attempts there? There we go. The gap going up from 2.1 seconds to 2.3. So a little bit of over-exuberance there. Even on the fresher tyres, you can't afford to eat all your sweeties at once. You do need a couple of bit in reserve when you actually coast up to the back of them. But yeah, there's a little bit of championship pressure just creeping in there for Michi Hoyer, though, because as long as he doesn't have the track position over Simoncic, he knows he can't afford to think, right, I just had to wait for them to pit, change tyres, and then it's done and dusted for me. No, he's absolutely got to keep pushing.
Of course, yeah. And now Mroczek is even closer than he's been before. The brake light's glowing.
Yeah, and they're starting to back him into Hoyer now.
Yeah, that's an interesting tactic. But Mroczek looking to see what he can do here now. Into turn 11 they go. It should be single file for the moment. A bit of understeer for Yerny in comparison, but he does have enough on the high side to help him through. And now staying through the dirty air will be difficult for David to stay on the straight and narrow. But yeah, it's really a case where Simoncic is just taking it a little bit easier to the corners. Now we switch to the onboard camera of Michi Hoyer, who is almost within 1 second of Mroczek. Just trying to wait and see what he can do here. Yeah, he seems very eager just to slow it down and get pushing again through the final corners. And yeah, still so close for the race lead. And little can separate those two in their battle, but Hoyer is little by little making the difference.
Oh! Whoa! And Mroczek outbrakes himself into the first corner there. I think he may have actually almost hit the back of Simoncic there, but luckily gets it back under control. And Michi Hoyer is thinking, right, this is opening up like Christmas right now, because they are just tripping over each other, and I can now pick David Mroczek off easily on this lap. But they were bunched together. It could have been a much harder to pass them, and now I think Yerny actually held up a little bit by that McLaren of I believe that's either Cripps or Rodriguez. It might actually be Regan Mitchell there. That they're just going around the outside of Regan Mitchell, backs right off, and now Hoyer, he's almost going to go up the inside on exit here as they go towards turn 9 and 10, and Hoyer is right upon the rear wing of Mroczek's Lamborghini here, and this is where Yerny Simoncic needs to sort of check out and try and escape up the road if he can. But yeah, Mroczek now is sort of forced into doing his dirty work for him and holding up Hoyer.
Yeah, that was such a Code Brown moment there. Would have been title deciding if there was heavy contact in the back of Simoncic, but thankfully everyone seems to be okay. Great to stay on board from Hoyer's perspective there rather than switching cameras. We would have missed that moment entirely. Now we can see that will be Zach, I believe, getting lapped again. So Lingard, I beg your pardon.
All in a line. By the way, comment in the chat saying if Hoyer wins and Yerny's P2, who wins the championship, between those two, there's only 7 points. So it is winner takes all. And it's about 11 points difference between first and second. And look at this. Hoyer's got the run then, pulling to the inside on David Mroczek here into that first corner. Mroczek knows that he's lost that position and backs in. And now we've got our two title protagonists, 1 and 2. And now Hoyer is going to throw the absolute kitchen sink at passing Simoncic in this stint, because that's the last man separating him from the title here.
Yeah, he's a little anxious there to turn 4, but it seems to be okay on exit. So yeah, Simoncic and Hoyer head to head now. The question has been asked, and now Hoyer needs to get this momentum back his way after he pitted later than all his competitors in Hypercar for fresh tires.
How fresh are they now? That's the question, because he's had to do a little bit of battling to get through. They're still looking better nick than Mroczek and Simoncic though, and this is where Simicic's defensive driving will be put to the test. A little bit squirrely on the exit of turn 10, but there's a little bit of hybrid that he can use if he absolutely needs to. But of course, you don't want to run out before that next pit stop coming in the next 15-20 minutes or so. Can Yerny hold on that long? That is the big question here.
Yeah, it's so fascinating to find out through the fascinating turn 12 there, the right-hander. It really does test the downforce capabilities of all the cars today to the limit there. You've got to stay as flat as possible. But now, the run down to the final corners. It's too needless, really, to go for it there, but Simoncic so anxious there. He's using extra curb, and that could be the 1 kilometer an hour, 2 kilometer an hour difference that Michi Hoyer needs. Now he's in the slipstream. Simoncic blocks the inside line for turn 1, but of course turn 2 will favour Hoyer taking the high line, the regular racing line. And yeah, there you go. There's the block from Simoncic, but can he get on the switchback? They will go side by side into 3 now for turn 4. Ed, this is absolutely huge.
Yeah, that was Simoncic putting everything on the line there. Nearly collided with Hoyer. Who's got the most to lose here? Side by side they go. Hoyer's going to have to go all the way around the outside of turn 4, and they make contact again. And Hoyer's nearly off track, but he's able to just rejoin and slot in behind. Dan Rodchek is enjoying the show, I think, at this point. Just they're eating popcorn while he drives.
Yeah.
As Hoyer and Simoncic go at it, hammer and tongs. I don't think there's any more appropriate term there. But yeah, that was brilliant defensive driving from Jene Simoncic into turn 1 there to just go right to the inside and then just lift off into the apex there, just to coast up that line, give no opportunity for Michi Hoyer, and then even on exit cutting across him very narrowly. So he's prepared to do the swipes if he needs to, because there's so much money on the line. Oh, and it's a late move from Hoyer, and he has to back out at the last minute, and they're going to be side by side as they go towards turn 12, but it's going to be Hoyer on the outside, and Simoncic knows it, and he forces once again Michi Hoyer to back off there.
Yeah, this is just expert driving here from Simoncic. He knows Hoyer's got the tire advantage after changing them in the pit stop, but yeah, whatever he can do just to make a nuisance of himself without any more heavy contact. Of course, a little bit of bumping is all fair, but if it gets any more violent than that, there will be certainly words about that. But Hoyer will try again. He was blocked on the inside last lap. He will be once again, but he's got to find a way to avoid Simoncic blocking him there. That's where you want to be on the power edge and get a real run out of turn 3.
Oh, he's got a good run.
Similar again, but now he'll go. Yeah, he's got a clear run on the outside. Simoncic still has to defend on the inside. He brakes later. Contact again.
Oh, you could see Hoyer sort of panicking. You see the duty freeze coming up. One to complete the moves as early as possible. Simoncic has got the inside. This is going to be tight. No, you're surely not going to make it through. They almost go side by side with the 2 McLaren duty freeze, and it's Simoncic that holds on to the lead by the skin of his teeth. And now Morocek up the inside, but it's not done yet. Yeah, it goes wide, and it's almost 3 wide between our 2 hypercars. Our 2 title protagonists side by side into turn 9. Can Hoyer sweep around the outside and do a ring of death here? Jene halts his progress, stops him from getting through, and they're still in the same positions as before. Oh my goodness me, I can't believe this.
That's sensational. The McLaren's
he's doing it again.
Oh, they're trying it a second time. He will make door-to-door contact, forcing Simoncic's car not to be able to turn in whatsoever, and Morocek could have a go himself, so the lead changes for the first time since the pit stops. And Rodchek on the high line is also through, but he has used he's breached track limits there. I don't think that'll be a valid overtake. Oh, they've both gone off. One of the best laps. One of the best laps I've seen all year long since we've had the year 2025. Absolutely unreal.
Wow, race isn't over yet. Still an hour and 21 minutes left to go, but you can definitely tell this is a championship fight, can't you? Drama between Hoyer and Simoncic now. Now Rodriguez wants a piece of the action. Never mind those hypercars. What about our Simoncic pits? Well, now this is a turn up for the books. That's an early stop there. I think his tyres are done.
Yeah, it must be a game set and match for his rubber, so he's got to change them over now. Those 2 McLarens, they will have been mortified to see those hypercars battling like that, but now they're excited since they can actually have a go themselves, and it will be Rodriguez to hold advantage into turn in, but a great bit of acceleration there for Cripps. That he had a nose in front, and they're going to turn into turn 4 side by side for a bit, but yeah, Cripps just a little bit too much speed there. He was breaching the outside curbs a little harder, so Rodriguez holds on for the time being in this critical battle to finish on the podium in LMGT3s.
Yeah, I think Cripps sort of understeered on the outside there. Always a tricky move to hold on around the outside, as we just saw even in the hypercars. And look, there we go. Is that Neil flashing his lights, desperate to get through now. So where Simoncic emerged from his pit stop, as we see Neil being a little bit held up. Simoncic is 9th, actually, about 14 seconds behind David Levy. So he's got clean air here And this is again Yerne rolling the dice, trying to undercut to get track position on Hoyer. Knew he was just losing so much time, especially fighting with Morocek as well, even after Michi Hoyer had got through. But that was so great. You saw Michi was starting to get a bit frustrated and went for that move up up the inside into 11. And I think somebody in the chat said Yerne getting angry. And I think there was a little bit of that with David Morocek as well. He seems more angry with David just for being there than with Michi Hoyer for making that move. But superb overtakes by Michi Hoyer. He may have had the fresher tyres, but against Yerne Simoncic, you need more than just fresh tyres. You need to be on your A game, and that's exactly what Michi Hoyer's brought with him today. Is big cut there for Calvin Cripps at the final corner. Can't afford to do too many of those. It's you get 5 points of corner cutting that you're allowed to do before the penalties start racking up, essentially. In the sprint races, it's free. But in the endurance, I believe it's slightly less draconian, essentially, as we now see. Look at that gap for Prendergast. Near 23 seconds now. Wunsch is just being dropped. And Wunsch is still doing a great race, 10 seconds almost ahead of Rodriguez. But compared to Prendergast, it's not enough to win those championships at the moment, even coming in with the lead that Wunsch had. So brilliant in Le Mans in that Ferrari, but in Bahrain, it's the McLaren that I think is clearly the car to have.
Oh yeah, definitely. It seems like a McLaren favoured track in LMGT3 with Prendergast, Kieran Prendergast. They're absolutely dominant so far. He's shown no signs of weakness today. And Sebastian Wunsch just has to think what he can do, as we have passed halfway. So we're in the second half of the race now. And yeah, it's definitely a case where getting these cars to the line is the objective, with 3 retirements there in class. So yeah, if you can just get your car to the line, it will be very profitable for your points tally. But for the case of Kieran Prendergast, he will be the champion of this VMS Pro Series Season 1.
I just wanted to say, by the way, I had a look at the YouTube chat and how many people were watching, and we bumped up from about just over 100 views to nearly 125 when that battle kicked off between Simoncic, Hoyer and Morocek. Maybe it's just because we got to half distance and people watching Michi and Yerne streams were tuning in, curious to see what it looked like from the outside, just to get the full picture. But yeah, thank you very much for joining. It is a real privilege to see so many people watching, and they're really interested to see who comes out on top. And you never know, Yerne could still turn this one around. He's done it before. Let's put it that way. As we continue to watch Cripps, he's still getting a bit of slipstream from Rodriguez, isn't he? But now Michel Rodriguez is through onto the podium once again. The pressure is on Cripps to keep pace with him. He's defended brilliantly so far, but the worm has started to turn ever so slightly. Meanwhile, here's our Hypercar current standings. Michi Hoyer would be the overall champion if it ended by this, but Simoncic only needs to finish in the top 5. Let's not forget to win the Endurance Cup, such is the 22-point lead he had in that going in. But yeah, I wonder if pitting early is going to hurt Yerne in the long run here, especially in terms of the fuel at the end, because he's gone so much earlier than everyone else. I think double stinking the tyres sort of forced him into that position, didn't it?
Yeah, I'm afraid so. Knowing that Michi had been the only one in the lead group to go for fresh tyres after his first stop, it kind of made him think, yeah, I can't beat him on the road anymore.
Look how much faster he is than David Levy, 3.1 seconds. So that is a difference between the BMW and the Porsche. The BMW on fresh tyres as well, compared to the Porsche. And maybe even topped up a bit of his virtual energy as well, let's not forget. So yeah, Yerne was in a position where, having lost the gamble with the double stinting on the tyres earlier on, he sort of had to roll the dice, didn't he? And so he's doing that so far. And let's see whether the cards fall in his favour here in Bahrain. But the chips are very much down then, with almost 1 hour, 15 minutes left to go. We should be seeing the rest of the Hypercar field and the GT3s into the pits before too long.
Yeah, you want to perhaps be shorter in the middle stint here, knowing you've got to have everything set up for your final stint. You don't want to realise, oh goodness, I've underfueled by 1%. That will cost you dearly, or indeed your energy could run out. So
I think Captain Mariansky is listening to that.
Exactly. And poor Mariansky. Yeah. Sorry about that, but yeah, definitely you can be a little bit more flexible in the middle stint, but at the end, everything has to be absolutely organised. You can't leave anything to chance or misplace a decimal point or anything like that. So yeah, Hoyer has the mental game so far, but yeah, still an hour and 15 to go. So yeah, it's definitely down to Simoncic and how quickly he can cut through the lap time in this critical phase, the sort of 50 to 60% distance mark. So yeah, this is where he's got to, be totally homed in and ready to adapt again if necessary.
Yeah, making that early stop means he's sort of, as we see now, he's got to lap those two pesky McLarens that caused so much trouble for him earlier, didn't they? As he had to lap them all, but somehow he's able to keep the lead. As now he picks off Callum Cripps, and now he's just got to negotiate his way through past Michelle Rodriguez. Rodriguez moves over, but cleverly doesn't get off the throttle so that he doesn't have to worry about Callum Cripps coasting up behind him as well. And that is always the way with GT3s when you've got the faster prototype classes approaching you from behind. You've just got to make sure you're not caught wrong-footed there. And meanwhile, by the way, Aurelian Bru only about 1.7 seconds off of Marco Di Buono, the fight for fifth. And remember, they are fighting for that fifth place and the $15 that come with it in the overall Hypercar standings. So maybe not the full $185 at stake here, but still... that would mean a lot. Oh, and Marco Di Buono has actually gone quite deep into turn one there. That could cost him a little bit of time, but he still gets a decent exit at least. But you can tell the pressure on Marco, of course. He is, of course, a race winner, unlike Aurelian Bru in previous rounds in this championship. But it's one thing winning the sprint race, quite another to win in endurance. And, of course, Michi Hoyer is hoping to win his first endurance race of the season at the most important time when he needs to win the championship. So far, he has done pretty much everything right, not been held up on the tire by the cars double stinting. He has scythed through them like a knife through butter. The only one that gave him a lot of trouble was Simoncic, and that gave us a lot of entertainment as a consequence as well. But yeah, Yerne now 2.7 seconds behind David Levy. The problem is he's almost catching David Levy a little too quickly. I think he would have hoped to be about a second behind and then see Levy go into the pits essentially, and then he'll be right with the leaders again when they re-emerge. But now he might actually have to pass David Levy before he pits, which is sort of a little bit of a roadblock. But Yerne being 3 seconds a lap faster, you would think it's not going to take him too long unless he catches David Levy at a really awkward part of the racetrack.
Yeah, indeed. So Levy, he will want to perhaps just give Yerne a little bit of a contest before it's all over. So yeah, we'll keep an eye out on that.
He was actually ahead of Yerne last time out at Kota, wasn't he? Before he had that issue where the virtual engine ran out right with about 8 minutes left to go, or whatever. No, it was less than that, I think. But yeah, with 2 or 3 laps left on the clock. But, but yeah, here is Aurelian Bru now within 0.8 of Marco Di Buono. He wants to clear that Ferrari. $15 at stake between these two, and Marco Di Buono, how much would it mean to him to hold on? And Levy, it's not even going to be a contest.
No.
As I expected, David Levy knows his race is not really with Yerne Simoncic, so he tucks in behind, and that's David Levy back into 9th in the order. But nonetheless, David Levy, even if he finishes 9th, he would get more than enough points to qualify into the top 10 for the VMS Pro Hypercar field next season, because David Levy's 8th at the moment on 33 points. Amos Laredo's not there today. Jules Neal is ahead, so there might be a threat from Neal, but Farinelli is only one or 2 places ahead as well, and there's nobody else behind really that can threaten. So yeah, I think David Levy, even though this has not been in terms of pace a great race, in terms of his season, I think he can probably feel quite fairly proud of the job he's done today. He's had some good performances in Interlagos and Kota as well, as we see all Bru just eking closer and closer. Neal is checked out from this battle, 7.4 seconds up the road, so it really is just between these two for 5th position.
Yeah, it is a little bit certainly isolating to just have the 2 drivers on their own for a big position there. One McLaren's will be a lap down there, most likely Mitchell. Yeah, so yeah, they just have to think about their own races now. They don't have to imagine battling anyone else on track, barring any shocks. Yeah, Farinelli here on camera now, P7 in class, cut adrift. But yeah, Yerne Simoncic should be closing him down for sure in the next little while before he eventually has to pit. But yeah, Farinelli, in fairness, when he has made those small errors, he's kept the car safe from significant damage, so he's picked himself up and tried again. So with other cars out in hypercar class, it has been a case where he's picked up what he can, whilst certainly has retrieved some of that lost time by keeping the car nice and tidy in this stint. And now the battle, Bru versus De Buono. Again, let's see if there's any way through for the caddy against the Ferrari. At the moment, it's not going to happen into turn 4. And yeah, he's got to follow along perhaps the next 4 or 5 corners before he can try again on the back straight after turns 9 and 10. Yeah, he's definitely lining up something here, is Aurelian. So yeah,
that was aggressive into turn 8 there. There's definitely something brewing here, to use a quite awful pun. But yeah, Aurelian just really late on the brakes, getting as close as he can to that Ferrari. And I think Marco De Buono, under a lot of pressure here, knows he's got to keep his head here if he wants 5th position in this championship. It's a straight fight between him and Bru, just 1 point apart, of course. Now Luca Fingard, they could come upon him in a bit of an awkward moment here on the exit of turn 11. Fingard fights for control, notices the two of them in time, and disaster is averted. Then Hoyer continues to pull away from Rockchip, by the way. 12.1 seconds now. The gap, although actually Rockchip's starting to close in significantly on this lap as Hoyer hit trouble. He's lost a couple of tenths. Maybe that was just a braking zone. There we go, just a bit of traffic as Hoyer clears it quite easily. And the rear hanging out as well. I wonder if Michi is now starting to feel the the effects of pushing that hard on the tyres to get to the lead. And now he's having to sort of hold on for them for these last few laps before he makes the final pit stop. And of course, with Michi being the last one to pit in the first stint, is he trying to go just one more pit stop to the end so he doesn't have to do the splash and dash? And is that what he's thinking about relative to Simoncic? Because Simoncic had a relatively quick stop for tyres. I wonder necessarily how much more fuel he's put on, whether he's tried to sort of split the difference. So he's quite light on fuel at this phase as Brewer's up the inside into 4, but not enough overlap. Marco De Buono has to go wide though. And is Brewer going to try and dive up the inside into turn 5 and 6? No, he thinks better of that, and wisely so. But Marco De Buono needs to be cagey, needs to keep his head here. That red Ferrari versus the yellow Cadillac. As again, the rear drifting out on the Cadillac. You can tell oversteery setup on that number 3 of Aurelian Brewer, isn't it? And Marco De Buono just has to hold steady here in this stint, because it's only a few more laps surely before the pit stops.
Yeah, that's the thing. Just have that extra few tenths before the pit stop with the track position benefit. Very, very important. And yeah, Brewer's just watching what else he can do. It's close, but no cigar just yet. And yeah, he's lost a bit of time in this sector, pushing really, really hard, hoping for a mistake of some kind. At the moment, it's just not happening for Aurelian. Yeah, definitely Marco De Buono. His chance, to react to that and get away would be valuable to his race. It's nearly 9 tenths of a second yet, just in that sort of range. They're all on their own now. Only really lapped cars should be their concern at the minute. So turning the camera around, it looks fairly empty for them on the start finish straight. So it's their battle ready to carry on for a little bit longer.
By the way, Michi Hoyer and Simoncic matching each other's lap times. The gap is just under 70 seconds then. So Hoyer trying to fight off the undercut here. But now Simoncic siving into that gap. Look at that last lap time with Farinelli, 2.1 seconds faster. So not quite the full 3 seconds he was taking out of David Levy. But it's pretty close though. That is impressive to see just how much quicker he is than just overall a course of 1 lap. Is it maximum risk there to hold on to that one to get around the outside of Fingard without having to lift off there. But so I think for Jene Simoncic, it's almost he's got to put all his cards on the table at this point, doesn't he? Because he needs to try and undercut Hoyer. Get trap position again is a mistake from Marco De Buono into turn 10 as he collects himself up. Now gets on the power, use a bit of that hybrid energy just to cover off any attack from Brew into turn 11 here. But Marco De Buono really just not looking as comfortable as he did in Kota, where he was absolutely superb in that sprint race. Built up a 20-second lead, I think, at one point by having to save fuel, winning by about 3 seconds ultimately in the end. And Aurelian Brew, he knows that I would say he can afford to bide his time, but we are getting towards those closing stages. 1 hour remaining, one more pit stop remaining for a lot of these drivers. And yeah, this could get very, very tasty before too long.
Yes, indeed it could. So, yeah, an hour, 5 minutes to play with. It'll feel like a long time for these drivers working with absolute vigor and determination since the get-go. But yeah, it's still a little bit longer to go. So, yeah, got to keep it calm. And now there's a lovely camera shot with Prendergast, the leader in LMGT3, and he's about to be caught by Michi Hoyer. So, that was a nice bit of camera work there to get the two leaders in class together while there was still an opportunity for them to be spotted together. So now with Brew losing a lot of time on this last lap, it must have gone a bit haywire from him. He's nearly 2 seconds back. So yeah, maybe it was just a case of turns 1 and 2 went poorly for him. So he's got to recover that time. Yeah, definitely rear end traction. Yeah, letting them down a little bit there, but it seems to be okay.
Nicolaus says he just spotted that Brew was really late on the brakes into turn 1, and that was why he lost time there. Interesting, in the chat, we get a lot of support, especially for Kieran Prendergast, always in the chat, not least from his own father, as he leads now by 27.5 seconds. We also now see, I believe, Callum Cripps' father, Gary, saying, come on, Callum, keep on the pressure. Well, it seems to have worked because he's now 3.5 seconds ahead of Rodriguez when he was following him earlier. So yeah, Rodriguez may be starting to drop off at the end of this stint. Was able to drive really well to get ahead of Cripps, but now with the hypercar traffic lapping them once again, Cripps took advantage there and retook that position. So all is not lost. There could still be a few more strategic hands to play then, but we're shuffling through the deck. The time is running out because we're running out of cards here for all of these drivers to play if they want to turn their championships around. Not least Simoncic again, 1.9 seconds faster than Farinelli. You can see Farinelli ahead of him, but the real race is with Michi Hoyer, who is maintaining that nearly 13-second gap. It is 13 seconds exactly, sorry, to David Marocek there. I didn't want to undersell Michi Hoyer's performance.
No, not at all. It is an absolute joy to watch here for Michi Hoyer, but he'll only feel the same way provided he crosses the line as the winner and the overall champion. Yeah, certainly the Endurance Cup, it has been Journey's, that's where he's been at his best in that segment of the championship. So we'll see how that goes for him in the last hour plus 2.5 minutes. So still very much concentration to the fore as the cars are now a lot more spread out. Only a handful of battles are still in play here, and of course we saw Marocek and Grigoletto's exciting duels in the first stint. They're just 5 seconds apart now, as Grigoletto wants to try and make the most of his pole position from the beginning of the race. He's since been knocked off the podium. If Simoncic can get back onto it with his off timing with the tire change. So now Farinelli, it's going to be pretty inevitable here, Ed. It should be a pass for Simoncic to overtake the Cadillac for 7th in class.
Yep, here we go. Farinelli surely not going to fight this one too hard. A little bit deep even into turn 11. That almost felt like he thought he was being lapped by Simoncic and then realised a bit too late that that was her position. But there we go. Yerne up to 7th. But here's the interesting thing. Even in the Endurance Cup, Yerne needs to finish 5th to win no matter what. But if Hoyer wins and he is 6th, he would lose it to Michi Hoyer as well. So if maybe Yerne is genuinely in trouble in this strategy, then he could genuinely be fighting for these positions right now. And he would need to clear Brew and De Buono just to be assured of at least that Endurance Cup.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, it's certainly not a foregone conclusion there either. He has to prove he is the driver capable of
66 seconds.
In the top
that's
5.
the gap to the lead.
It's still quite a hefty gap.
That would be depends on the length of Hoyer's stop for this final stop, doesn't it? But that would be sort of enough to get sort of in and around undercut range, under 70 seconds or so. So he has been gaining a little bit of time. Enough though, especially when Michi emerges on the fresh tyres and the shoe is on the other foot once again, like we saw in that second stint.
Yeah, indeed. So, yeah, that's the feeling. Hoyer taking the tyre gamble. It will definitely be a case where turnabout will certainly be fair play. The other drivers have a chance to go on fresh rubber. Rosek and Grigoletto, it'll be their turn to scrap their used tires and have a final push stint as we tick down to 1 hour to go now. So it's a full-on sprint at this point, a 60-minute sprint to the end. Let's see how they get on after putting in an hour and 40 or so of action. So there's our summary of the LMGT3 race as we head into that final hour with Prendergast 48 laps complete, Sebastian Wunsch 28.9 seconds behind, Callum Cripps holding off Michel Rodriguez for the podium at the moment in their Inter-McLaren battle. Luca Thingard 90 seconds back in 5th. Regan Mitchell is in 6th position there, 100 seconds back. And Zach Viermak, after that penalty he served, he's still running there in 7th with Valtteri Männinen, Fabian Ballet and Marcus Crawford out of this LMGT3 contest for this evening.
Ooh, that's the first mistake I've seen from Prendergast all day. Is he just, even then, doesn't lose that much time. Just a little squirm on the brakes there into turn 4 as the tyres start to drift off at the end of the stint. Michi Hoyer then, 55 laps completed by him. He is 14 seconds now ahead of Davor Morocek. He's just absolutely flying away from him at the moment as Morocek and Grigoletto suffering on those old tyres. So certainly I think Simic could be a threat to those two, but Hoyer's the big question mark, of course. Grigoletto holding on to that 3rd. Then it's Jules Neal doing a really, really good job in 4th, the Frenchman, with Marco De Buono holding on to 5th, just ahead of Aurelien Bru in that fight for 5th, not just in the race, but in the championship as well. Jene Simic is 65 seconds down on the lead, so he's taken another second out of Michi Hoyer. But has he chewed through those tyres too early to put himself in a difficult position later on? And of course, Yene's still got potentially, he's going to catch up to Aurelien Bru and De Buono, who are definitely going to be more on his pace than Farinelli and Levy were, as Kakpa Marianski also still out of the race, of course, after that early issue, along with Gaëtan Quirel, who lost the wheel early on. So then, 57 minutes left to go, and it's a weird position for Hoyer because it looks, on paper at least, very, very comfortable. But with Simic on those fresher tyres, still gaining inroad, making inroads here, there's still that threat there. There's still that potential that when Hoyer pits behind, he could have a real fight in his hands to get through again. And even if Yene's got even more worn tyres than before, he's just going to fight for every inch, isn't he? Like we said, it's a roll of the dice. And he sort of was forced into doing that because of Morocek spreading the pain a bit there.
Yeah, of course. So the opportunity, we'll definitely start to see the opportunity come and the potential risks that may bring, depending on the preference of each of our hypercar drivers. Yeah, Simic has certainly left Daniele Farinelli in the background now. And his task will be to catch Aurelien Bru. There he is now in his own Cadillac. So the battle with Marco De Buono. It's calmed down a bit for the moment, but still a case where, yeah, they could have a head-to-head in the pits and see who chooses their strategy with the better judgment there. So now it's a chance once again for Michel Rodriguez to catch Callum Cripps and get that podium spot in LMGT3. The gap is hovering at that 1 second mark, and when they go into another battle, Ed, it will be fireworks for sure, as I know time is running out.
Yeah, I wonder if Rodriguez has either been saving his tyres for this battle near the end of the stint, or potentially they're both trying to save fuel, but even then the GT3s, it's really difficult to stretch an extra lap with fuel on those compared to the hypercars because you haven't got the energy recovery system or the hybrid battery or whatever to play with. You've really only got the standard. So the tools here is a little bit wide from Cripps. Yeah, that looks to me like the rears are really struggling at the end of this stint then. And Rodriguez has kept his in reserve, kept his powder dry for this specific moment then. Is now we see Hoyer about to lap the both of them. But yeah, as we go into sort of nearly 15 minutes left to go, or we're seeing pit stops, Prendergast in, Mitchell in, and Zach Vermaak in from the GT3 field. Are we about to see these two following them as well? Because they must be starting to run out here.
Yeah, definitely a telltale sign if your opponents in the identical machinery take a chance to the pit. Vermac in the BMW also has a chance. So definitely Callum Cripps in the lead of this battle. Oh, Rodriguez outbreaks himself as he sees Hoyer coming. So he's got the one eye on his mirror and one eye
Oh,
on his windshield, and neither of these drivers pits. So Callum Cripps, I hope that was the right call, because knowing that he has to make a decision first, uh, is it better to stay out, or would have an undercut worked out? I'm not at all sure, but yeah, it would have been interesting, because it would have been too close for Rodriguez to respond unless he knew exactly what was going on. So we'll see now the leader in LMGT3 come out of the pits just at the same time there as Virmac. And oddly, yeah, Virmac is actually going to be ahead. So he's going to just have to pull over for blue flags, unfortunately, there. A
yeah,
bit
this
awkward.
could be a bit tricky because this caught Kieran Prendergast out before at Monza, where he's tucked up right by one of the hypercars during a pit stop at Monza and ended up tapping the back of him, speeding in the pit lane. Prendergast flashing his lights. He's got a nearly 30-second lead on Sebastian Wunsch, but he's just no room for complacency at all, and Kieran Prendergast will not suffer any fools gladly. Wants to clear, not that Zach Vermack is a fool by any stretch of the imagination, he's just in the way from his perspective there. So, yeah, you can tell Kieran backed off just before the pit exit. Line is up the inside into turn 10. Goes Rodriguez. He's putting the pressure on Callum Cripps, but these two did go a lap longer in the first phase of pit stop, so it makes sense that they're doing the same thing again. And yeah, they should comfortably, when they pit, have enough fuel to get to the end. But Callum Cripps just can't feel comfortable at all here in the class lead at the moment. He's got Rodriguez all over him like a cheap suit, and it's an itchy suit at that because he just cannot get rid of it whatsoever. As we see, always that Timočić is really starting to gain on Brunner. He's got the gap to about 6 seconds there. Be interesting to see virtual energy some of our hypercar field have got left in reserve at this point, but Bru also in turn closing on De Buono. There we go, but Bru's only got 3%, Rockcheck's only got 2%. I wouldn't be surprised if we see David dive into the pits here or on the next lap, if not now.
Yes, right on cue there, Ed. Nicely timed, as Mroshek will give up second position briefly, unless we see every single opponent bar Simoncic in Hypercar pit. So Grigoletto responds. Yeah, he had time to react and has chosen to do so. What about Jules Neal? Is he ready to pit, or he wants to carry on? We're about to find out. Yeah, carrying on.
This will be interesting
Oh,
because
he's missed. Oh, he just. Oh no, Neil does pit.
it
but
does drag you in if you're slightly off. It does drag you in on Le Mans Ultimate into the sort of pit box detection point. Simoncic then coming through should comfortably come out ahead of both Mroczek and Grigoletto. Remember, they are also having to change tyres because they didn't do so in the first pit stop phase. So they've got very warm tyres, unless they want to be just running on the rim at the end. Or they all come in ahead of Simoncic. That puts him back up into second. Look at that gap to Hoyer, 64 seconds. So he's closed, but maybe not by as much as Yerne would have been hoping for at this phase. So the way things are working, I think Yerne is going to try and do a splash and dash later on and hopefully can build the gap to Hoyer.
Yeah, so definitely sensory overload for me there, all sorts going on. But yeah, definitely the hypercar class are in equilibrium there, with Simoncic, of course, the exception, trying to catch Hoyer and win the championships for himself today. And now Mroshek exits the pits. And
easy behind Grigoletto. Grigoletto's jumped him by 4.8 seconds.
Nice.
So is that Grigoletto doing a triple stint on these tyres maybe? It's a gamble. It's an awful lot of a gamble as now Michi Hoyer's in from the lead. That's surely going to hand it to Prendergast as Hoyer enters just as De Buono is leaving from his stop there. And it's Jules Neal still in fifth position and significantly ahead. But look right behind Marco De Buono. It's Aurelien Bru. So the battle for fifth in the championship is going to rage on. Then as David Levy is out of the race, that's a shame for him. Was he again caught out by the virtual energy like in Kota?
Yeah.
Or has he disconnected? Yeah, definitely the red lights are on. So yeah, red lights mean you've run out of virtual energy, or you're about to if you're not careful. So yeah, that's the sign of a car that is running on empty essentially, as Farinelli exits the pits now in what's going to be 8th position with Levy now out of the picture. So Farinelli still looking like he's going to miss out on Neil, as there we go, Simičić officially takes the lead in the background. Farinelli's going to miss out on that 10th in the championship unless something happens to Neil up ahead, but I don't think even he would wish that on Jules. He'd wish to just be in the fight on his own, but he's 21 seconds adrift of Bru and De Buono now, so it's looking like Farinelli, best he can do is maybe 8th, as look at Michi Hoyer weaving the wheel there, 50 minutes to go, and are we about to see Hoyer on his way to the championship, or can Jene Simičić strategically outfox him here?
Yeah, this will be absolutely incredible.
Oh, you cut out in the middle of the word incredible there, Owen. Are you still with us? No, okay, right. I'll just fill until Owen, his internet decides to play ball here. But there we go. The confirmation of the gap then is we see Sebastian Wunsch rejoin the fray, and immediately lapped there by Davor Mrocek, who's got the bit between his teeth, chasing down Grigoletto. And I'm pretty sure Grigoletto is trying to triple stint the tyres here in a bid to try and get on the podium, but it's a bit of a desperate hope here. Best he can do is maybe to delay Mrocek for a couple of laps. But now we see there's a long race. I don't blame you, Owen, if you want to take a break. But into turn 8 comes Davor Mrocek, but Hoyer 30.9 seconds behind. This is where he needs to make the inroads, because if Simičić has got maybe more than 20 seconds, then that opens up the window where he can do a splash and dash and still come out ahead. 30 seconds would be a sort of roughly ideal gap for Simičić if he can just keep matching Hoyer's times. But Hoyer's got the fresh tyres. It's got more virtual energy as well. We saw, I think it was about 35 for Simičić when everybody pitted. 28, there we go, compared to 82, and almost inverse numbers there, swapped around. So yeah, Simičić hasn't got that many toys to play with compared to Hoyer. So it's a harder strategy to do, but if anybody can pull it off, it is Michi Hoyer. We see Aurelien Bru still within 7/10 of Marco De Buono. So in Hypercar, it's all heating up. Don't forget about Rodriguez. He pit the lap before Callum Cripps has come out 9/10 behind as well. So he is trying to put the pressure on, trying to get that number 59 McLaren ahead of the almost identical 59 McLaren, save for the logo on the front bonnet and the slightly different coloration on the rear wing there. Anyway, 47 minutes left on the clock. Simičić actually gained a little bit of time on Michi Hoyer here, crucially. And that's exactly what he needs to do just to keep Hoyer at bay. But there will come a crossover point where the rear tyres will start to cry enough on that BMW. But of course, Simičić needs to stretch out to get the fuel to work in his favour here. So it is quite the battle he's in the middle of, and it's going to come down to that strategy. Keep your eyes as well on Mrocek. He's taking, eating through the track between himself and Grigoletto. 1.6 seconds is the gap as Bru within 6/10. As you can see for yourselves exactly what the situation is here, with Aurelien Bru really pressurizing once again the back of Marco De Buono then. I think Owen's rejoined us. Oh, he's trying to. I think the internet's not playing ball.
Disconnect. Hang on.
There you go. I heard that.
Okay, right. Okay, I don't need to disconnect. We'll keep going. Sorry about that. I'm not sure what happened, but anyway, yeah, we can see traffic. Yeah, so the two great battles of our midfields have come to meet each other, and it may be advantage to Marco De Buono for a moment there. He's got to evade those two McLarens, but now Bru can now power down, and we'll see now. That's Prendergast in the lead of LMGT3s, getting lapped again by Davor Mrocek.
So oh, and look at Fingard. Fingard's not pit yet, and he's only about 14.9 seconds behind, but he must be on very warm tyres at this point. Wunsch about 12.7 seconds behind. So this is a bit elusive. Yeah, Fingard only one stop in this race so far. So, but it'd be interesting to see, because he's sort of the equivalent of, say, Hoyer or Simičić stretching the field out. So Fingard could be in a good position to maybe gain a few places late on in this race. And indeed, he does have to pit now. That will hand second place back to a very grateful Sebastian Wunsch. But yeah, Cripps and Rodriguez fighting each other. And Mitchell I think Mitchell is really the one that Fingard is a threat to at the moment. I think maybe Cripps and Rodriguez are a little bit too far ahead as they're half a second apart. And now you see, speaking of half a second apart, here's that podium battle. Fabio Grigoletto, he is up against it here. Davin Rocek looks very, very strong on those fresher tyres.
Oh, he does, without a doubt. And Fabio, what choice can you make here? Yeah, he'll definitely try and cut in for the first apex of 9 into turn 10. But yeah, David Rocek, he's going to go for it soon in the Lambo. No doubt in my mind. Is he ready?
Ooh, not quite.
So, yeah, maybe the start-finish straight is the better striking point because, yeah, turns 11 through 13.
Oh, he's gonna cut him off,
very dangerous
and
on
they
this
spin!
contact.
Yeah, Grigoletto kept it out of the barriers. Just about. But there's going to be a little bit of remonstration to that one. They just didn't give each other enough room there, did they? Oh, Grigoletto. Oh, is that an off-track overtake? Does it count they're both off-track and they spin into each other?
Well, Mrozek should say, look, that was my mistake. I'll let you back by. So, yeah, I think, yeah.
Yeah, well, he gets the battle again, and he's still got the fresher tyres even with that spin, doesn't he? So
nice spinning there with the contact. So, yeah, I think, yeah, a bit of compassion should be applied to Grigoletto there. He should be allowed back past. Even
they are fighting in the championship for third, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
There's still prize money up for grabs between those two, so Mrozek can't afford to be too lenient or too nice here because Grigoletto will just handily bank $50 for P3 and take $20 away from David Mrozek. Oh, well, no, yeah, in the overall championship.
Yeah, so it's certainly been a faultless battle between those two, despite the cash prize on the line until that one individual mishap there. So hopefully that's going to be put behind them and they can play for the cash prize again without any further incidents. So yeah, we'll see how that gets on. Now Simoncic will be allowed by Rodriguez first and then Cripps. So 35 seconds is the gap in the lead. Lap time. Simoncic would have gained, I think, 2/10 there. So
yeah, Hoyer 2/10 slower, I think.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Here's the interesting thing here. I wonder if Hoyer is tactically thinking, right, I can go to the end here. Yerne can't. So Yerne's got to pull a big gap on me, and even then the tires might start to drop off near the end of the stint. So the pressure is still on Simoncic at this point. Michi Hoyer might be starting to get a bit worried. If the gap gets to almost like 40, any higher than this, it's going to be a problem. But he's keeping it just under 35 seconds at the moment. And it depends when Yerne pits and how long he has to pit for as well to get to the end, because he may even underfuel it to get track position and then have to do some saving himself. So Hoyer is definitely thinking about the end game here as we see Mrozek gearing up for another assault on Fabio Grigoletto for third in the race and third in the championship here. Don't forget about Rodriguez within 3/10 of Callum Cripps as well, and Aurelian Bruce still keeping De Bono honest within a second as well. 3 great battles to occupy your attention, and don't forget that 4th battle for the Hypercar Championship as well, which is a strategic one, but nonetheless extremely intense. Every lap is going to make the difference here between winning big and coming away in runner-up spot, which still gives you some prize money, but not quite as much.
Yeah, of course, yeah. The second place prize money, nothing to shake your fist at. But, yeah, this is crucial now for Chris and the battle to be on the 3rd step of the podium tonight. Rodriguez has really been waiting his opportunity for a strike against Callum. But yeah, Callum has done so remarkably well. Just keep him back
up the inside.
Let's take 2, guys. Let's play nice. On the inside at 11.
Before.
Yeah, he doesn't want to wait any longer because turns 12 and 13 are very, very risky. A slight overstep there on Grigoletto's Cadillac, but David Mrozek has made the overtake and is currently P3 in the Hypercar class and therefore overall. So nicely played there from David, but Fabio has a chance to push back before it really is a case of Mrozek being able to pull clear. But here we go, Grigoletto back down the inside.
Ooh, that's bold. Oh, I think Fabio is going to really struggle on the tyres now from this point on because they are just crying enough at this point. And the problem is with that spin they both did, they've lost a lot of time to the leaders, but it's also put Neil within about 20 seconds at them as well. So Grigoletto can't really afford to pit for fresh tyres because then he'd have to pass Neil as well. So he can't really switch at this late phase. To the Simmons strategy is all. Mroczek has to get well over the curb there as they go either side of Luca Vingard then in their desperation to lap him. Meanwhile, Rodriguez still within 4/10 of Callum Cripps, starting to pressurize him into that turn 10 hairpin. But this time Cripps holds steady, does not make any mistakes through that section of the track. And it is Rodriguez who has to sit in behind. And remember, Vingard, on that different strategy, he's come out about 30. He had actually come out ahead of Mitchell because he's had to obviously put in slightly less fuel. That's given him a bit of an advantage there. So yeah, Regan Mitchell, I think, may have to settle for last of those. Oh, no, he's not last of those. No, Vermaak is out as well, isn't he? I'm forgetting if Vermaak is still running or not, but I'm pretty sure he... No, he's still going 16 seconds out.
Sorry,
good on Zach Vermaak, actually, because he's actually shown good pace relative to... He's been still stuck behind Prendergast as well, so maybe he's decided I could just shadow Prendergast and match his lap times. It might do my race a bit of good. So you never know. He might still have a shot at Regan Mitchell in these last 40 minutes of the race. But the closest battle now has surely got to be Rodriguez and Cripps within 2/10, but not forgetting the Bru de Buono battle here. The two Bs battling away into turn 10 there, but Rodriguez is close enough into the slipstream. He tucks out to have a little look up the inside. He's just trying to put pressure on Cripps here by showing his nose and trying to make him outbrake himself, trying to make him second guess what Michelle Rodriguez is going to do here, of course. And Michelle Rodriguez, by the way, from Sweden, not to be confused with Hollywood actress Michelle Rodriguez. His name is spelled slightly differently, just to avoid any confusion there.
Yeah, that all makes sense, but nevertheless, Rodriguez wants to do the family name proud, I'm sure.
Yep.
As
very fast and furious action
here.
here.
Mr. Gary Cripps is watching as well. So yeah, lots of tension, I'm sure, in the two households and beyond for this battle to finish third in LMGT3. So yeah, lots.
Do you think Michelle is cheering her namesake on if she's watching this? I doubt. I think she's probably got bigger things to worry about. But yeah, even with $185 on the line, I think that's chump change to a Hollywood actress of that caliber. But anyway, Fabio Grigoletto still desperately trying to keep Mroczek in sight. But he sees third in the race and third in the championship, I think, starting to slip away at this phase. But he's done an awesome job to keep the tyres alive as well as he has. And it might even be, well, the problem is now Grigoletto, Neil is going to keep closing on him, 17 seconds behind. So if Fabio Grigoletto gets to the point where his tyres drop off the cliff completely, he could have a real problem on his hands. As Simičić gets the gap up to 36 seconds, another 2/10 gained on Michi Hoyer here. The pressure mounting up and up and up. This is looking better and better for Jene Simičić. Switching to that alternate strategy, getting into that clear air, has transformed his race, it must be said.
Oh, it has, yes, for certain. Pulling out that gap a little bit more. So yeah, definitely will feel a bit more like open wheeler stop, as he doesn't have to stay stationary for that long in comparison to what he did earlier in the stint. So yeah, earlier in the race. So yeah, we'll see now how it feels when he can push on a splash and dash strategy and go for the championship and the cup. So let's see if he can do that. And still, we watch Cripps versus Rodriguez, just so close in the identical machinery. Whatever Rodriguez can do, I think Callum has it covered thus far. But yeah, there will be Mroczek and Grigoletto coming, so that could be another example of the two battles coming intertwined. And here De Buono has to defend. He's under a lot of stress now, I'm sure, as Aurelien Bru goes for the inside. Doesn't pay off this time, but wheel to wheel rubbing. And yeah, Aurelien has advantage into the braking zone if he can time it just right. No, he doesn't actually. Buono later on the brakes. Really impressive there.
You saw De Buono very neat. He cut across him quite assertively, and he's doing it again here on the exit turn 4. But yeah, Aurelien Bru driving probably his best race of the season in that attempt to get into the top 5 here. It's amazing these drivers who were maybe struggling a little bit in the early rounds. Marco De Buono was really struggling for results in the first 3 rounds of the season. They crashed out in the wet. at Sebring, come to think of it as well. And yeah, Aurelian Brew, another of those that's come on leaps and bounds. Marco de Bruno race winner, of course, Jules Neal as well. Grigoletto as well, who has led the opener before making a mistake, which let Simoncic through and then ended up finishing, I think, 5th in the end in that opener at Spa. Now he's the driver that can get on pole position as well outright, and also defend for so long from a driver of Davin Rocche's caliber as well, and defended from Simoncic and Hoyer in the first stint for a long while as well. He's been a real factor in this race and in this championship, so we've got to acknowledge these younger, less experienced, not as much, maybe not the biggest names compared to those who've had tasted lots of success in the past, like Simoncic and Hoyer. Round goes Brew. Oh dear, so something happened just before that final corner. Brew, I think maybe was trying to go for a move, and the rears lost traction, but up the inside comes Rodriguez into turn 4. He's crowding out. And contact as Kyle Cripps tries to turn and tries to cut underneath, but there was no room for him, and a little flash of the lights there. So Kyle Cripps loses 3rd place, but he's not finished yet. He's going to try and fight to regain that position, Owen.
Of course, yeah, the fight will be on, as this is the moment now. The championship all on the line here with this pit stop. Jurni Simoncic is in. We have full credit to Michel Rodriguez for making that pass. He's waited so long to do it. Now he is the punted across the final corner. Will be Michi Hoyer. It'll be full power for him now to try and gain the lead back. But of course, yeah, the ability for Simoncic to burn through the fuel a little bit more in the final 34 minutes of this race, that could play a huge part as well. But yeah, Michi Hoyer leads once again.
I'll tell you, that contact between Rocha and Grigoletto has worked handsomely for Simoncic, because now he's got a chance of just coming out ahead of Davin Rocek, which would help his race leaps and bounds. It's going to be close, though, on exit. Nah, he didn't lose enough time, did Davin Rocek. He's going to come through potentially Grigoletto as well, as that's Jurni Simoncic still getting to the exit of the pit lane here. It was a good effort from Simoncic, but now I think he's got too much work to do. I think Hoyer knows he's got this in the bag now.
Yeah, it may feel like that, but we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, particularly if Grigoletto and Rocek, if they can hold off Simoncic on pace, for example, we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, here's Cripps now, his chance to get back into the fight for the podium. And
yellow
so close there. Yeah, a little bit of yellow flag warning there, a little bit of a warning. It seems to be okay. So these two can fight on as planned. And this time Rodriguez. Oh my word, he's gone for a huge dive bomb. The switch, and he's understeered badly there. So nice attempt, I have to say. Good on you, Callum. But I suppose, yeah, it's not the end of the world having missed out on that chance, because he still has plenty of time.
Yeah, plenty gap to Fingard, 43 seconds in arrears, so 10 out of 10 for style points for Callum Crooks, but minus several million for good thinking, because I think that late on the brakes, the dummy looked spectacular, but he did not quite have enough brakes on that car. That was never slowing down in time for that one. But yeah, worth a try, I guess. And now he's got to regroup, and like I say, hasn't lost that much time. Is now about to see Marco de Bueno breeze through. Then he's actually continued to build the gap to Brew, so I think Brew took a little bit out of his tyres with that moment he had at the final corner then. But yeah, nothing's going to dissuade Callum Cripps, I think, from mounting another attack. He's going to tuck right into the slipstream once more. Simoncic now, it's a bit of a difficult job here. Fourth would still be enough to win the Endurance Cup, so looks like that's going his way. His strategy has worked on that front. But in terms of the podium now, this is a little bit more complicated for him, because he's got to catch those 14, 15 seconds to Grigoletto and Rocek in the last half hour. I think that's really what the rest of this race is going to be, and Hoyer knows, with a nearly 30-second gap behind him, an almost Prendergast level gap. Although, having said that, Seb Wunsch has actually cut the gap to Prendergast significantly, back down to 23 seconds. So I think Kieran has still got this one under control, but good to see Seb Wunsch not giving up at this phase.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I suppose Sebastian Wunsch has had one of the lowest amounts of time on camera, knowing that Kieran
We've seen him lapped a few times by the Hypercars.
Yeah, we have, of course. yeah, it's just the headline is that Prendergast has never been off the championship lead, despite, well, apart from pit stops, I suppose you could say. So, that's denied Sebastian the chance to give a great account of himself in this race compared to other ones where he's been definitely up there. So we'll give Sebastian his flowers at the moment. So just quietly getting on with the job. He's been clear of the McLarens and the BMWs behind, for example. So it's just one of those runs where, unfortunately, for the 70 to 80% of the race, it's all been about Kieran Prendergast. So we'll have to wait and see if anything can switch very, very late on and give Sebastian a chance to close the gap to perhaps 15 seconds or less.
Yeah, possibly. Oh, can you see Zach Mack flashing his lights at Prendergast? And I'm not sure Kieran appreciates that, because he's saying, hey, I'm doing my best here. I'm leading the race. What are you doing, Zach? Down in 15th and last position. But of course, Zach Mack almost feels like, I'm a little faster at this phase. You should let me through. So this feels like Zach Mack's got something to prove here, and he wants to put on a little bit of a show. But Kieran Prendergast has got the most to lose here. So there's no need to fight Zach Mack here. But of course, he doesn't want to get complacent and allow any more time to be given up to Sebastian Wunsch, of course. So yeah, he's got that in the back of his mind, as there's Simoncic on his charge, trying to get back onto the podium here. 14 seconds to Grigoletto, stuck within about a second and a half of Marocek, who's done incredibly well to keep the tyres as alive as he has. Callum Crutz, meanwhile, still within 7/10, half a second of Rodriguez. Yeah, Michel Rodriguez just cannot shake him in that fight for the podium, which has been going on since lap 1 pretty much between those two. It's been absolutely spellbinding to watch. And Callum Cripps and Rodriguez as well throughout this season have put in a lot of entertainment for us, and have been some of the underrated stars of the season outside of the Prendergast, Wunsch, and some of our race winners. They've been really, really good. Callum Cripps with 2 podiums, and Michel Rodriguez, I think, similarly as well. Though Callum Cripps' 2 podiums were both second places. No, there was a second and a third. I misspoke there. Whereas Rodriguez has, I think, just got the 2 third places to his name. So yeah, that second in Monza, where Cripps actually nearly beat Sebastian Wunsch in the wet conditions, was a very impressive drive from him. He actually put a double move on, I think it was Rodriguez and Ballet, if memory serves, or somebody. No, it was Maninen. It was Maninen and Rodriguez that he did the double move on in the wet at Lesmo 1 and 2, I think, which is quite a spectacular moment for him. But yeah, Callum Cripps now on the defensive as the rear slides out a little bit into that's Rodriguez's rear sliding out, into 10-11. That opens the door, as you see a few flies on the windshield here for Callum Cripps here. Maybe that's just bits of rubber, discarded rubber, flying into the windshield, and closer and closer to the back of that car. Don't want to get too close, because we saw what happened with Marocek and Grigoletto, didn't we? When you get too close for comfort, all of a sudden you're both spinning around and losing 10 seconds. But anyway, the battle continues. Onto the straight they go, and Cripps is going to try and get on the power as soon as possible. He's still right in the slipstream. Rodriguez will have to defend a little bit here into turn 1.
Indeed he will. The benefit, of course, being in the identical car is that you know what it's capable of when you're in the slipstream and when you're defending against it. And you can see there, for example, Michel is blocking so hard in the middle of the road, meaning that Callum has to adjust his planned attack. Of course, we saw him into turn 4 with a major send that did not pay off. I think you'd be a bit more cautious with this one, because Rodriguez has blocked the road completely on the inside. Oh, maybe double movement there, and it's allowed. Callum Cripps on the inside. Again, it may just be deja vu. It is, unfortunately, just getting that car slowed down, proving too difficult there for Callum. But yeah, I do like the idea. One of these will stick eventually. You just need to figure out exactly which one needs to be done and when.
It's like when you're scrubbing away at a at a mess in the bathroom, like in the kitchen, on the can, and it won't go. He's like, if I just keep scrubbing away, maybe it will disappear. This particularly stubborn stain. Yeah, but Callum Cripps trying to This isn't a silly bang ad. He's got to find a way through without the aid of some kind of a surface cleaner here. But he's sticking to the rear surface of that McLaren in front of him. He's going to go to the outside into turn 11 here. He's getting creative. Can he get the overlap here? Cripps is going to try it, but it's the long way round. It becomes the inside for turn 12, though. The doors make contact with one another, and it's Cripps on the inside then into 13 and 14 here. Who is going to get into this corner first at the penultimate turn? A little bit deep for Cripps. Rodriguez is still there on the inside. They bang wheels, and now Hoyer has got a nightmare because these two fighting for third right in front of him. He wants well clear of that widest berth possible. Is almost onto the sand goes Callum Cripps in defense here, but he's going to try and hold on to this for everything he's got. Michel Rodriguez ran out of room, and that's Cripps through onto third once again.
Yeah, that's lovely, splendid work there, but it's far from over, of course. 25 minutes to go on the clock, and now being behind the hypercar leader means that the checkered flag would fall if it stays like this. Of course, they wouldn't get an extra lap being just behind the checkered flag recipient, if indeed it stays as Michi Hoyer. So yeah, it is back in Callum Cripps's column. But yeah, still a long way to go. So what will happen here into turn 4, because he's been used to the more extravagant overtakes or desired passing opportunities that haven't worked out. So Michel Rodriguez doesn't want to try that sort of attempt just yet. But yeah, definitely one to keep in the reserves of his head. And he'll try again later on when he's settled back down, now that he's in the dirty air.
Yeah, Rodriguez sort of wiggling to a couple of braking zones to turn 1 and turn 4, isn't he? Almost like he's trying to do a little Scandinavian flick, or I think he's really just trying to put off Callum Cripps here. And yeah, with the time starting to run out in this race, you can't really blame him, because every time he gets through, Cripps seems to get the upper hand once again, doesn't he? Neither of them could quite break away from the other, and it's been superb entertainment for us. Simoncic, by the way, has got the gap to Grigoletto below 10 seconds, but he can see the light fading in his championship chances here. Michi Hoyer has outplayed him in this race. He tried, he still had a good recovery really, and had to try something a little bit different. It was a yellow flag again on track very, very briefly, as Hoyer pushing for all he's worth. I think it was Vermac having issues there, so yeah, he just loses a bit of ground to Prendergast. There wasn't contact between the two, was there maybe? But it wouldn't surprise me if Zach Vermac went for a Callum Cripps style dive into turn 1 that didn't work out, and Kim Prendergast has cut back underneath him maybe, and that's what we're seeing the end result of there. But anyway, Rodriguez gearing up once again for another run at the back of Callum Cripps's identical almost 59 McLaren, but Rodriguez knows he's running out of tyres and running out of tricks here. Cripps seems to start a little bit more confident on this occasion.
Yeah, that he is. To know what it's like to lose your desired work, now that he has it back, I think that does give him a pep in his step. With David Mroszek, he'll be coming soon enough to try and lap these guys as well. Hopefully nothing too scary like we saw with Hoyer having to go way on the inside on the straight between 13 and 14. And there we go, he's actually going to meet them in 5, 6, 7 and should be allowed by for turn 8. And Rigoletto will be paying attention to see what happens here. And yeah, you have to go the high side. That's not what he would have preferred. He would have preferred a proper shot at the apex of the corner. So Fabio Rigoletto, have a look here to make sure he's given his chance to overtake fairly under blue flags. So Michel Rodriguez is letting them through, as does Callum Cripps. And that should be a little bit of a break, because of course there in the background is Jurni Simoncic in the art BMW.
Yeah, probably going to catch him at least a next lap around. But you saw for Cripps there, that was a bit awkward for him through turn 8, because ideally you want to take the racing line, wash out, do the least amount of turning on the steering wheel. But he had to sort of stick to the middle because Mroszek was going around the outside of him there through that hairpin. So it was a little bit tricky. So now might be a good point, by the way, because everyone at VMS in the admin team is starting to get annoyed that I haven't mentioned this. So I will do so now, because we haven't mentioned it since the start. That Season 2 is coming up. So if you want to participate yourself, pre-qualifying is open until March 21st. So you go to There's a link to the Discord server in the YouTube description, and that should give you all the information you'll need to get on the server. Set your times, submit your times to for approval, and remember that first round of the season, 13th of April at Imola, the Autodromo Enzo Edino Ferrari, of course. But now Rodriguez gets a good run. Cripps was a bit slow off the apex there. How defensive is he going to get here? He cuts right to the inside, and Rodriguez looking for the gap, cuts inside him. This is bold from the Swedish driver, and he's made it through. Callum Cripps had to leave the door open there, and I think he got a little bit outfoxed there. So that was good attacking driving from Rodriguez to open that opportunity up for him.
Absolutely splendid again. So these two have a lot of determination. Oh, and Callum, he loves these dive bombs. He's a bit more of a have a go hero, to be honest. Whereas Rodriguez prefers a bit more of a fine tooth approach. Make sure he just picks his opponent apart with precision. But yeah, Callum just will not yield. So yeah, I was saying he might have had a pep in the step and he could clear Rodriguez, but no, he did lose position again, but he took it straight back with an incredible move there, has to be said. And this will not yield until the very end. They're on identical strategies, I believe, and it should be wonderful to watch for a little bit longer.
It certainly will. Simoncic rapidly closing now on Grigoletto. You've got to think Fabio Grigoletto, as tough an opponent as he's been for Simoncic in the past, he's got no tyres left. He's just really starting to fall off the back of Mrocek now, nearly 4 seconds behind. So he's just a roadblock at this point as far as Jene Simoncic is concerned. With all due respect, he is a race winner, Fabio Grigoletto. But this strategy is where triple syncing the tyres has just been that a little bit a bridge too far, I think, for him. And you can see Jene just rapidly catching him at a rate of knots now. But speaking of which, it's Rodriguez again. He just refuses to give up. And look at this. Callum Cripps goes to the middle of the road, tries to crowd out Rodriguez, but Rodriguez late on the brakes. And now Callum Cripps attempts to cut back underneath and get the exit, but almost gets blocked at the apex there. So good positioning from Rodriguez.
Yeah, it's really nicely done. But again, Cripps loves the late braking here, and he does have a nose in front. Rodriguez, I think he's realized. He's realized that battle will not go his way for this particular corner. But yeah, really impressive into turns 1, 2, and 3. You have to try again now. Will he? I don't think he'll be able to pull off the same trick again. And that's Jules Neal, I think, coming up to lap them next. Oh, sorry, no, that's De Bono. Pardon. Yeah, De Bono, my mistake. So it's a bit too over enthusiastic there, and Cripps will get the chance to pull nearly a second clear, especially with the blue flags, as the Ferrari will get rid of them pronto. And there's a look at our summary of the energy usage, the percentages. Certainly in Jurni's favor, he could burn up a few extra percentages if he wants. I think
he picked the most recently.
Yeah, he picked the most recently.
Exactly, he's using just to make sure that he doesn't have any too much left over at the end that he could have used to sort of gain track time at this phase. But yeah, it's starting to really tighten up in that battle for second, and a lot of people thinking Jene is going to fight his way through in these last 15 minutes or so. I certainly wouldn't put it past him. I think third, definitely, I could see Mrocek mounting a bit more of a challenge though.
Yes, of course. Yeah, Mrocek in second place to have fought from P4 on the grid. He got a very good start, and then he was back down to fourth for a while. But yeah, definitely to peak now. There's a look at our qualifying to race changes of position. So
this is the whole order. So the GD3s, they've all gained because a couple of the Hypercars, 3 of the Hypercars have dropped out. So everybody has got at least three places there. Try saying that twice as fast.
Well, for my accent, I can pretty much forget about the letter H, like tree.
Okay, the luck of the Irish, I guess. Yeah. But anyway, Callum Cripps now defending, as he has been. He's either been defending or attacking the whole race. I have the feeling these two have just been having fun out there. They almost know it's the end of the season. Let's just have at it and not let each other get away from one another the whole race. I don't think there's been any opportunity, any sense of Callum Cripps even thinking about escaping. I think he just wants to play with Michel Rodriguez at this moment.
Yeah, a few certainly handshakes and laughs. I'd hope they've had a great time, even though the stakes are pretty significant for these two drivers. They want to get their hands on some prize money and a spot on the podium just to mark the end of season 1 together. Yeah, definitely in the overall standings, Cripps is probably too far ahead. But in the Endurance Cup, it should be a little bit closer between them. Yeah, Rodriguez 23 points and Cripps 38 points. So yeah, it is still a case of just a bit of honor. In Rodriguez's case, he'd love to end the season on a podium.
Yeah, Ballet is out of the picture, of course.
Yeah,
Liskowitz is not here, so Rodriguez is looking good for, and Kamau Naui not there either. So if you can get above 39 points, there's a chance at 4th in the Endurance Cup, and I think 5th in the overall standings might be a bit much for Rodriguez here. I'd have to do the math on that one, but yeah, he's on 68. No, he's in 4th at the moment. He's already ahead of Family and Ballet, so yeah, he's looking good at 4th in the overall standings no matter what then. So yeah, Rodriguez, I think, is set for $30, and yeah, Callum Cripps is looking good for $50 in the overall standing. Oh, on top of whatever they get from Endurance as well. Simic now within a second of Grigoletto, a little deep on the brakes from Rodriguez there into the first corner, so he is starting to just make a bit of mistakes. So Cripps has starting to frustrate him ever so slightly there. But now this is the critical phase for Simic. If he finishes second, it's not going to win him the overall championship. He would miss out, I believe, by 3 points. 2 or 3 points would be something very, very a small margin, but nonetheless one that would be enough to deny him. And yeah, he certainly sort of needs something spectacular to happen here to turn that picture around. But at the moment, Hoyer just keeping the gap steady to Marocek as Grigoletto now under a bit of pressure here. How hard will he fight? Because those tires are just absolutely shot at this point to the face. Look how much he's just losing. He's still within 2 seconds of Marocek, which is impressive in its way, but the rears are just looking all over the place through some of these corners.
Yeah, I can't really blame any of these drivers for pushing to the extreme on their tires and certainly on the overall chassis that they're driving. So to get back on the podium now, this is what's at stake for Jurni Simoncic. He's going to get right behind. He fancies the move. Fabio, yeah, he's got a chance to cut back, of course, so it's not done just yet. But if he doesn't get the power down through 9 and 10, then it will definitely be position gained for Jurni Simoncic. And yeah, a bit of rear locking, but Grigoletto spectacularly fights back. So that is well judged, despite using extra runoff. Yellow flag warning for a bit longer than usual. Not sure where that might be.
Oh, it's Varinelli at the final corner.
Not for the first time.
There's Hoyer. Keep out the wall.
Yeah, he kept it out the wall again, but yeah, he's got to back off straight away for race leader Hoyer. So that should be respectfully observed. But Simoncic and Grigoletto, this is take 2 for their battle. And of course, there's the Lamborghini just ahead. So the opportunity for Simoncic with 12 minutes and 17 seconds to go. That's what he's got to do. He can get the slipstream now, but it's all about how he applies the braking into turns 1 and then the opportunity to get on the power again for turn 2. He's going to get right in the gearbox now. Can he make the move? And yes, he can. Very good.
Yeah, significant overlap this time. Grigoletto tucks in behind, tries to get the superior exit, flashes his lights. He's going to try and get alongside on the outside, but I think he knows that one is lost. He did really well. I love seeing him dive up the inside to turn 9 and 10 to get back through, just to showing he's no pushover, even when Simoncic has got the advantage on virtual energy. He's got the fresher tires. He's got everything to his advantage. Grigoletto was not just going to let him breeze through, and that's actually cost Simoncic a little bit of time. And you never know, that could help Davin Marocek in these last 11 minutes then. Just give him that little bit of a breather that he needs. 3 seconds, the gap between the two, but Simoncic is already bringing it down. And now it's Marocek's turn to face Jurni Simoncic in Mortal Kombat in these last 10 minutes, because Jurni has got a score to settle with him.
Exactly. So we'll see how they get on. as we can see. Yeah, just the contrasting hypercars both have the rights to be allowed through. So Farinelli just trying his best to get to the line safely. He's just he's just way too far back against Brew there to really compete for positions on battle for for a head-to-head battle. It could be reliability to decide anything else for Daniele, but we'll see what else can happen. Then Simoncic now well clear of Grigoletto. He's gained perhaps the whole second there since the overtake in the beginning of the last lap. So 2 seconds is the deficit. He's got to catch David Mroczek with 10 minutes in hand. Otherwise, he'll have to settle for the bronze medal in this race, and therefore he'll finish second in the overall championship to Michi Hoyer.
Yep, and 10 minutes left to go in this one. And of course, if Hoyer can win this, actually, I think he would he be equal on wins with Jene Simoncic? I'm trying to remember how the season's gone. So Spa was Simoncic first, Hoyer second. Interlagos, Mroczek won, Jene was second, and Michi was third. Then Sebring, Jene was traveling back from Sim Formula Europe, so he wasn't there. Michi Hoyer beat Mroczek and Grigoletto on that occasion in the rain. Then, I'm trying to remember what was round 4. Round 4, I think, was Le Mans, and that was Simoncic, Hoyer, Mroczek, the top 3.
Yeah.
And then we went to Monza, won by Simoncic again, so that would have been his second win of the season, with Hoyer second, and I think it was Mroczek third again. Then we did Fuji, which was won in the end by Grigoletto because of the post-race penalty that dropped Simoncic down to second with Hoyer third. And of course, Coda last time out, De Buono won with Michi second and Jene third. So yeah, I think it would be 2 wins each. Yeah, because Jene at Spa and Monza. Oh no, 3 for Jene, but only 1 less. They both would have had 1 endurance win each, is what I'm thinking of. So yeah, it has been surprising. Even Hoyer has really fought back and had a really strong end to the season. Maybe there's a little bit of Hoyer practicing a bit more than Jene, perhaps, because Jene's stream was literally title decider, but nobody has practiced. And I think maybe there's a bit of projection onto the rest of the field there from Jene Simoncic. But I thought that was a kind of interesting title there. Be interested to hear his thoughts at the end of this, as well as Michi Hoyer's and, of course, Kieran Prendergast, if he's up for talking to us. Not least Callum Cripps as well, still only 6/10 ahead of Michel Rodriguez, and having an absolutely awesome fight. But we're about to see what unfold here as Simoncic has well and truly caught Mroczek, and there's traffic ahead.
Oh yeah, no better traffic, to be honest. It's the McLarens again. Oh, I don't think Rodriguez saw what was going to happen there. Urini had to adjust in the nick of time. And now, there we go. David and Urini are away safely there. And of course, Grigoletto has to be let through as well, so he should be given the green light there by Cripps to pull clear. So we do have a battle for P2 for sure. Potentially, Grigoletto could find his way back with that little distraction, but it will be a long shot. And you can see there, big push through the exit for the Lamborghini. And let's see if he can try and figure out the final corners with similar guile. Let's see. Yeah, that looks okay. Yeah, using just the minimum amount of curb necessary. Doesn't want to overdo it on those tires. The energy levels, again, Simoncic has still got an extra few percent on account of pitting later than everyone else. But yeah, at the moment, yeah, Ed, it's not gonna be easy overtaking Mroczek whatsoever.
Yeah, that Lamborghini has got fearsome straight line speed as well. So yeah, he's got to compete against that. But on this strategy, he, like you say, he's got the fresher tyres. He's got a little bit more virtual energy to play with at his disposal. But of course, you don't want to use it at a moment of the track where it's not going to benefit you or help you make the overtake then, or pull away out of the slipstream to prevent a counter-attack alternatively, which is probably the smarter move once you get through, to be honest. But yeah, look at Mroczek. he's been relishing this. He's been really brilliantly. It's almost like he's never been away. It's almost a shame, really, that Marocek had to miss a couple of sprint rounds because him and Hoyer were very, very close at the top of the championship for a long while until that happened. And now Yerne almost front bumper to rear wing there through turn 10. And Marocek knows he's got to hold on for these final 5 minutes because any mistake, and that could be all the invitation Yerne Simčić needs to take the runner-up spot in this race. But either way, Yerne is looking absolutely set for the Endurance Cup here. Even Hoyer winning would not be enough to stop him with Simčić in third. He would need to be sixth or worse. But in terms of the overall championship, which is the one I think that gives more money and that more people are concerned with, Hoyer is set to win by nearly 30 seconds here.
Yeah, he's got the platform he needs now just to secure the victory he needed tonight to become the overall champion in Hypercar. So yeah, he just has to stay alert now for the final 5 minutes. So about 3 laps to go, I suppose, plus the final lap when the clock strikes 0. So yeah, nearly there, Michi, but you've got to hold on a little bit longer. Just make sure anything that lands in front of you, you're able to adjust course and get moving again. But of course, the stress is on the shoulders of Marocek and Simčić, who want to try and vie for the runners-up spot, as we do see the battle with
that's Wunsch
Sebastian
and
Wunsch. Yes, of course,
Vermaak ahead of them, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, what a dive there from Marocek and Simčić on the inside. A little bit of cut in there for Wunsch to get his Ferrari way on the inside curb, just to avoid any real stress there, getting his way by the BMW in LMGT3. Oh, they're sliding all over the shop there.
That's Grigoletto going too wide, and Wunsch laps Vermaak by pushing him off track at turn 10 there. That was a little cheeky. I don't think Zach Vermaak appreciates that. But
no.
Yeah. Zach Vermaak, though, still on for what would be his best result this season in that 6th in class, even though it's the last of those still running. So good on Zach Vermaak. He got the penalty out of the way. Oh no! Unexpected dive from Simčić at the penultimate corner there. Can he hold on to that one, at least for the time being? But Marocek will get a lovely toe into the final corner. But you really don't want to make the pass before the corner. You want to set yourself up into turn 1 because it's the much tighter braking zone, much slower. Oh, look at that. Simčić, opportunism and a half. And yeah, that was a really fantastic move there. I think I was about to say Marocek was starting to look comfortable there, but then Yerne surprised everybody. And yeah, he is on his way to the Endurance Cup. So I think Simčić, arguably, if he had not missed Sebring, he would probably be in a much better position relative to Hoyer in the championship. But as it is, it's been great to see it so close at the end. And you have to say, Michi Hoyer has fully earned it. Here and Kota, he's been exceptional. Sebring, when Yerne Simčić was absent, Michi was also just brilliant, made amazing getaway, then strategically outfoxed these two, Marocek and Grigoletto, in the pits by just having a much quicker stop. And I think Marocek missed his box and Grigoletto put in a little bit too much fuel in the rain. So yeah, they both rued that. And now Grigoletto, with that incident, is right on the tail of Marocek again. Has David Marocek chewed through his tyres? These last 2 minutes are going to be absolutely tense. Third in the championship, still up for grabs for Grigoletto.
And it is, yeah. And Prendergast himself in prime position just to tune it down ever so slightly and win. Of course, yeah, fair play to Sebastian Wunsch to close the gap down to 13 seconds. So yeah, not over yet by any stretch, but yeah, 2 minutes to go now for our leader, Michi Hoyer. So close now, but yeah, it would be exceptional for Grigoletto. Oh, great determination down the inside, and again, Dawid has been caught very unexpectedly into turn 13.
He's David Marocek low on virtual energy or something, but now he's trying to fight back into the final corner. He's got the inside. Oh, not quite. Yeah, there we go. They're both pretty marginal. Actually, Grigoletto's got slightly less there, so yeah, I'm not sure why he's been leaving the door open, but yeah, for Fabio Grigoletto, that was a case of, oh, if Yerne can do it, I can as well. But look at Marocek just powering through, maybe using a bit of that virtual energy as we're into the final minute of the race. Why not? So long as you don't go below 0 and you can regenerate a little bit into the braking zones, of course. But yeah, you don't want to rely on that too much there. Grigoletto, though, doing an absolutely spectacular job to challenge Mrocek, even at the depth here. But I think David now starting to breeze clear.
Yeah, I think the warning shot from Grigoletto just made Mrocek livid. I think he was like, oh, I've had enough of this. Leave me alone. So he's pulled clear now. So there was no uprising there from the Cadillac. And
I think Nicolas said that Grigoletto led him through there.
Oh, well.
Oh, it's the low fuel. Okay. Yeah, there we go.
So yeah, he's below.
So it wasn't the tyres, it was the fuel that's catching out Fabio. So not only did he triple stint the tyres, he underfueled the car maybe as well.
Yeah.
And that's led to this situation. But now 23 seconds left to go, and Michi Hoyer can afford to back off. He's got such a lead. He could end the race almost a lap early if he wants to. Is he going to continue? We've got almost 10 seconds left to go. Is he going to come to a dead stop? No, he's going to power on. And I think Michi Hoyer wants to enjoy effectively a victory lap here. And what a turn up this is going to be, because Hoyer is going to take the overall endurance championship and the $125 that come with it, to add to the $60 he got for winning the Sprint Cup last time out at COTA then. And you have to say Michi Hoyer has been just exceptional, kept it very clean, excellent battle with Simičić earlier, used the tyre advantage to his advantage basically. Everyone else tried to double stint, but Michi Hoyer knew he would need that grip at this phase then. And I did ask actually Paul Lepere, who won the final contender race of the season, who he thought was going to win, Jene Simičić or Michi Hoyer. And he said Michi, and I said, well, it's a brave man that bets against Jene Simičić. But it looks like Paul has won that bet, and I've very much been forced to eat my words from Friday. Oh, Jules Neal pits right at the end. So it looks like Grigoletto wasn't the only one low on fuel. And Grigoletto is coasting around as well. Oh, that's really heartbreak for Jules Neal. But De Bono's pitting as well. And this is on the end of the race as well. The time has run out. They did not expect Hoy to go that extra lap already. And Bru's been caught out by this as well. What on earth is going on here? Can Farinelli amazingly stretch the fuel and jump a couple of these guys maybe? Zach Vermaak, he's come to a dead stop then. My goodness, no. Michi Hoyer's got them all out. So Vermaak, I think he's going to lose a point if he doesn't cross the line to actually finish the race in sixth in class. But here comes Michi Hoyer then. He had to wait for this, his second win of the season, but it's going to be the sweetest. Through the final corner he comes at Bahrain to win not just the race, but he's going to be the first ever VMS Endurance Champion in Hypercar. And the German crosses the line, he celebrates, and why not? By 32 seconds, he beats Jene Simičić comprehensively. Masterclass today from Michi Hoyer. And now we wait now for our GD3 winner, who's going to win everything, as everybody has this sort of awkwardly sidestep Zach Vermaak there. But here comes your Endurance Cup champion. It's going to take $60 at least. Jene Simičić misses out on the big prize, but nonetheless, some amazing performances. 3 victories this season. He entered as the runner-up. Good recovery after the strategy just did not quite pan out. And Mrocek is going to round out the podium at the final race of the season. Good return from David Mrocek. He's had some real adventures out there today. And let's not forget about this man, Grigoletto. Mrocek may take third, but Grigoletto takes fourth. And that's the case in both of our championships. And is that somebody pushing Zach Vermaak around? It's Fingard. Fingard's decided to help Zach Vermaak finish the race, and that is sportsmanship if I've ever seen it. Through goes Grigoletto to take fourth. That's a great end to the season for him, despite all of them being caught out by the extra.
There's Prendergast.
And Prendergast, there we go. He wins big. $240 going the way of Kieran Prendergast. It looks like they say the house always wins in VMS Pro, but I think the big winner this season has undoubtedly been Prendergast. But this man ran him close. He's 6 seconds adrift at the checkered flag. Sebastian Wunsch not quite able to win the Endurance Cup, but still takes the runners-up spot. Great drive by the German, but outshone, it must be said, by Prendergast. And Callum Cripps, here he comes. Looks like Rodriguez ran out of fuel, and Cripps was just going to be able to run on fumes here and take the final podium of the season. Great job from Callum Cripps. He had to fight every inch of this race, but at the end, he gets the reward, and he knows he had to drive out of his skin for that one.
Yeah, goodness. Yeah, he really was made to work for that podium, Callum. But yeah, absolutely remarkable ending there. Just the contrast of fortune there. Some cars just running out of juice and they needed a top up, and then others were absolutely cruising along. Yeah, certainly Michi Hoyer knew exactly what to do. As Callum is celebrating there, a job very well done to be third in class. So yeah, really enjoyable race, I must say. Impressive full season 1 here of VMS Pro Series in Le Mans Ultimate. So yeah, really,
Right.
really fine showing there, as our results are now logged.
So let's go over the final results then at the end of a brilliant season in GT3. Who else but Prendergast winning 3 in a row at the end of the season? And it took so long for Prendergast to take his first win at round 6, but since then he has been unbeatable. Sebastian Wunsch gave it a good go. 11 I did say 6 seconds over the line. That was a bit of the glitch on the time screen. It is actually 11 seconds he was adrift by. So he did gain on that final lap. But yeah, Prendergast had more than enough in hand. And shout out to Callum Cripps. Amazing fight with Michelle Rodriguez. Got a feel for Rodriguez running out of fuel right at the end. But Callum Cripps played it safe, and that was the way to go today. Conservative on the fuel, but Rodriguez nonetheless had a brilliant season. Is going to bank a couple of top 4s and 5s in both championships. Luca Fingard ends on a high in 5th, and I think he was the driver not only that had the best fuel mileage because he pitted later than everyone else in both stints, but also the best sportsmanship, pushing Zach Vermack over the line. Vermack 2 laps down, but that is his best finish of the season in 7th, and he gets the 10 points that come with it. Regan Mitchell in between them in 6th. Mitchell had a good fight with Valtteri Mannanen earlier, but when Mannanen left, Mitchell was on his own. So good job from Regan Mitchell to at least get it home in 6th and bank crucial points for himself. Fabian Ballet disconnected in the middle of that podium fight, running behind Callum Cripps. It's another case of what could have been for Fabian, and I'm afraid that sort of sums up his season. And poor Marcus Crawford did not get very far in the race at all in 10th, so a little bit disappointing end to his season, but I'm sure Marcus will be back next time, although some I think will be hoping he tries to go to contender and get some good results there as well, just to boost his confidence that little bit if he needs it. Michi Hoyer, though, 89 laps, and perhaps his greatest performance of the season, because he beat Jene Simoncic comprehensively today. Amazing battle for the championship, and it's the German on top there. Jene Simoncic, to be fair, he threw everything at trying to win this championship, but missing Sebring meant he was playing catch-up for quite a while. Davin Rotchek takes the final podium of the season in his return in that Lamborghini. So Rotchek, if he could do a full season, he could be a title threat in season 2. Fabio Grigoletto takes 4th after a great performance on old tyres, with the fuel just running out at the end for him. Jules Neal in 5th, having the same issue, but getting his best result of the season, the young Frenchman, beating Marco De Buono, who just holds on from Morelli and Brew to take the $15 for 5th in the championship. So Brew came close, but just missed out. Then it's Farinelli a lap down, did well to get to the end in his number 2 Cadillac, but sadly, David Levy and Kappa Mariansky both caught out by the virtual energy, and then Gaetan Quidel also retiring with the steering wheel failure, meaning he lost the wheel and had to hit to retire. So 3 men waiting for the interviews there, and shall we talk to our overall champion first of all, because I'm sure he's going to be delighted to hear from us once again, and that is Mr. Michi Hoyer. So we are now joined, I'm delighted to say, by the inaugural first ever champion of the VMS Pro Series. Who else but Michi Hoyer? Michi, a week ago, we talked to you at Circuit of the Americas, and you said it was good. You were a bit coy. You thought you might be able to do it, but you thought it was going to be very, very difficult to beat Jene Simoncic today. But not only did you manage it in the end, you strategically outfoxed him completely and beat him by over 30 seconds. That was possibly one of the best drives we've seen you do all season, even better than Sebring, I have to say. How do you feel? Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I'm a bit speechless, because I was expecting like a race that was going down the wire till the very end. And then honestly, like I've won that race literally with a decision, like first with the ability to go 1 lap longer than anyone else, and then taking the decision to do something completely else than anybody. And it's like, go full opportunistic, take fresh tires, and Jesus, has that been a call. I was so surprised about the pace difference. I could go with those fresh tires. I had to do the moves on track, yes, but fair play. It was exactly the hard and difficult fight for the leads that I expected. I knew exactly that Yanni knew once he loses that track position over me, it's GG's for him. And now we have a 27 seconds gap, which is, I think, exactly the difference between visiting pit lane twice or 3 times. That just shows how close it is and how important strategy can be.
In that early phase of the race, where obviously you were behind Grigoletto before you got through, were you sort of saving fuel tactically? Because it did seem you were running longer than all the other 3 front runners, essentially.
When Grigoletto put his pole position in, I thought we'd be so screwed. So first of all, a massive hats off. What a lap by the dude. And then I was surprised that we could kind of stay close. Like I saw Grigoletto was on on fuel saving too, but eventually I found myself being the best fuel saver out of the top 4. And when I got into the lead and actually was slightly able to walk while not consuming more fuel, I was like, yeah, I think we got something going here. And I said, even if those guys are going to be on my rear wing, they're going to pit 1 lap earlier, and that gives me a strategic option. And yeah, like I can't actually believe it. I pulled it off. I'm absolutely over the moon. I have to say though, winning Sebring when coming home from the trade fair where Yanni had no chance to compete, that is literally the only reason why I'm sitting here as a champion. The overall champion is Yanni to me still, because he finished just 4 points shy of me with only 7 races done. Arguably, yes, he could have finished ahead of me with a better race last week and a better race today. But still, though, you have to consider that he has done 12.5 less races, or like one race less than me, and had to ride a 0 while I was riding a 25. So kudos
You
to
weren't
him still.
guaranteed to win at Sebring, though, because David and Fabio pushed you pretty hard, as I recall. So you were pretty good in those wet conditions. So I think
I
you're doing
mean,
yourself a little bit. I think you're doing yourself down a little bit for a man who's just won $185 in the last 2 weeks.
yeah, but arguably, like Sebring was special because really I came home, like I was leaving the train 18:30 to just come home, pick a setup, go to Sebring, and I was down 7 or 8 seconds from the first, like coming to the pit stop for the first time. But I think there I managed to benefit from the weather because it then was raining, and I went super aggressive with the fuel and be like, it better keeps raining a little bit so that I can really take 3 or 4 laps less energy, which I did compared to the other guys. That's how I jumped them in the first place. And then things just unfolded perfectly for me. So it was 50% luck and then 50% skill maybe from grabbing the right setup.
Well, I guess maybe we can fit in a couple of percent of Michi Hoyer magic, can't we? And
Yeah.
final word, I have to say, fantastic. It was amazing battle with Yene. Yene pulled out all the stops to keep you behind, but that move at turn 11, I think, where you went up the inside, that was just enough room for you. That was very, very well judged, and there's about as much contact as you can get away with, I think. But so hopefully, all is fair in love and war. And I think Yene taking the endurance cup is probably going to mean he's a little, not completely distraught at the end of this, because he hasn't lost all the championships, but he has lost 2 of them. And there is always next
Yeah.
season as well, I guess.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, still like I think it's fair play. It would have been it, it, I would have felt hard for him if he even lost the endurance crown after all, because in endurance races he have been top notch. Today, he made a desperate call, but I think he kind of had to, because as you've seen with David and Fabio, if he stayed on the same strat, he would have not had a chance anyway. So he tried rolling the dice, fighting back towards me. So I can't blame him for that. It was great to see that he actually made it back to second in the end. Yeah.
well, before I let you go, Owen, do you have a question for Michi, our new champion, before you let him go?
Sure thing. Hey, Mitchy. Congratulations on the title. This is my first time actually seeing Le Mans Ultimate in a competitive setting over a stream. So for season 2 coming up, what would you say as the defending champion heading into that? What would be the thing that people should tune in to watch VMS race here in Le Mans Ultimate? What makes the game shine, in your opinion?
I think the tire physics, the virtual energy, the different kind of strategies. Like, you know, a lot of people have seen endurance races where it's like from the get-go, it is like a 2-hour sprint, a 4-hour sprint, 24-hour sprint, whatever, whereas like everything is pretty set in stone. But here you have, and we've seen that today, Yanni switched to a 3-stop in the middle of the race, still getting in second, which in hindsight means if he would have committed to that strategy from the first place in, he would have probably been very much closer to me. And we've seen it with a 24-night cycle. You see people that are better on the tire, not as aggressive. They struggle a bit in the night keeping the temperatures in compared to those guys that are flat out pushing. They are faster then, but as the night time comes in, the it turns around. The guys that are pushing before are overheating the tires, over pushing, dropping pace, and then the other guys that manage the tire well, they actually can go consistent and they can go faster then. So there is a lot of variables, a lot of, it comes really down to own driving style, to their own thinking, how efficient you'll be able to race. And I think this is a new dimension that we see in sim racing compared to RF2, iRacing, ACC especially. And of course, season 2, I expect the grid to be stronger. A couple of guys that haven't shown up for season 1 will show up for season 2. Qualifier is probably going to be a lot more crowded, and then I think we will have the best top of the top split racings here.
Yeah, well, I have to say some of that is because of the following that you've brought, Mitchy. So we can't underestimate the people like you and Yene have really brought a great following to this championship, on top of the great promotional work that a lot of the people at VMS have done. Final thing I just want to say is I love the fact that you could have backed off at the end and not done the extra lap, but you did. And then about 4 or 5 people behind you had to pit because they were going to run out of the fuel or virtual energy if they didn't, essentially.
Yeah.
Like Rigoletto was on fumes before that, and then he's like, oh, God, I got to do another lap.
I was thinking about it, and I'm like, what is the odds here that I'm gonna get people hating me for actually cutting the lap short? And because, you know, if you're sitting in like 8th place and you see, look, if this is 1 lap short, I'm gonna stay 8th. But if this is 1 lap longer, P5, 6, 7 have to pit for fuel, and I take 5th here. So David had the same opportunity in one race, I think, and he also kept going despite 5 or 6 seconds to go. So I felt it would be wrong to just back off, despite we've had opportunity. And then you never know. We have been banging wheels. You never know what the stewards, if there is a protest or whatever, come up with twice 10-second penalties or whatever. Then I better have a 25-second gap instead of a 15-second gap to keep the crown.
Always thinking ahead for any possibility, even after the race is over. So thanks for giving up the time to talk to us, Mitchy. I think we're going to let you celebrate that well-earned title. And I said spend it on something nice, didn't I? Now you got an extra
Yeah.
a whole £185 rather than just $80, sorry, rather than just the $60. So
Yeah,
you can buy an
absolutely.
even better wheel. Happy days.
Thank you so much. See ya.
As we let Mitchy Hoyer celebrate, finally leave the commentary box, as the man been waiting, the other champion in both the Endurance Cup, the Sprint Cup, and the overall GD3 standings. It's the one, the only, Kieran Prendergast. Kieran, sorry to keep you waiting. I think you ended the race so soon, and we had to get through a lot with Mitchy, the Hypercar standings. But take nothing away from you, Kieran. Not only did you beat, you built up a nearly 30-second lead at one point, and I think Seb Funch cut it down at one point. Qualifying was so close to start off with as well. What was it? 800ths of a second or something between the two of you at one point. And then in the race, you just pulled away. Had to save a little bit of fuel at the end. But it was, in the end, what I don't want to say an easy win, but one of the quieter ones on track. You didn't have to do a whole lot of battling through the field to win that one. And you've cleaned house. You got what, $240 to your name in the past week. You're bleeding VMS dry, literally dry, just by yourself, Kieran. Yeah. So if you do season 2, I'm not sure we're gonna have any prize money left.
Well, you know, GG's to Seb and stuff. He kept me honest throughout the whole of the season, and quali I was happy to get the pole position. I think there was literally no grip in the quali session, so I really had to sort of tiptoe on my quali lap, and I was at least missing about 5 or 6 tenths of my quali lap. But I knew that we had good race pace, so that was one thing that we focused on, and it was all about just staying clean, making sure that we're not making any mistakes, and then last but not least, in the last stint, I noticed that I probably pitted a bit too early in one of my stints, which kind of cost me in the last stint. So I had to fuel save throughout the whole of that stint. But the thing is, we built up.
Flashbacks to Spa, right?
Yeah, exactly. I didn't want to make that same mistake again. So what we did is, it was just safer just to be, fuel saving the whole sort of stint, and then that's what we did. I mean, we had a big enough gap to sort of sort of make it through. But I know my teammate had some pretty interesting battles as well, from what he was telling me. But it was good fun. I enjoyed it, and happy that I've finally won the championship.
We were saying, Country, it took you round 6 to win your first race, but since then, you've just absolutely pulled out all the stops to take control of this championship, and it's been incredibly impressive to watch, Kieran, and I hope fun for you. But by the sounds of things, I know Mitchie. I was just pointing in. He made the race 1 lap longer. Was that annoying for you? Is that I just want to seal this championship already, or was that a case of I can do a victory lap here and enjoy this?
To be honest, the last 10 minutes were the longest 10 minutes of my life. To be honest, trying to calculate the fuel. Oh, am I going to make it? Is Mitchie going to do another lap? These are questions that going through your head whilst worrying about the gap coming down as well. So, kind of wanted to get the race sort of done over like quickly, but it was a good job that we started fuel saving from the very start of the last stint as well, which I think helped out massively as well. So overall I'm happy with the result and the win as well.
Oh, that's brilliant to hear, Kieran. And of course, obviously, season 2 just around the corner. So there are a lot of people watching this that might fancy a go at trying to take you on for the title next season. But equally, a load of people cheering you on as well. Not least, of course, your father. I'm sure he's going to be at least a little emotional after this. While he might be asking for a share of that $240. You never know. But we'll see how generous you're feeling. Steering wheels are expensive in sim racing, as I was saying to Mitchie, and you can buy the best at the top of the line one, of course, with all of that. Owen, do you have a question for our new GT3 champion before we let him go?
Hey, Kieran. Congratulations from myself as well. I suppose with respect to the LMGT3s, it was mainly Ferrari versus McLaren. So what elements of the McLaren suited your driving style that helped you towards your title?
I think a lot of it was when I first started, when the GT3s first came out. I drove all the GT3 cars and kind of felt a lot more comfortable with the McLaren, and that's pretty much it. But I think obviously season 2 would be pretty interesting now that we'll have the likes of Mustang, Porsche, and also Aston Martin making an appearance. But after doing extensive testing recently, we are looking forward to season 2 as well, and glad that obviously we can have another season of racing with VMS as well. So a big shout out to the organisers as well, yourselves, the people in the background sorting it out and getting it all prepared and stuff, because I remember when it first started and where it is now is just crazy, and how popular it's got and how massive it is as well. So can only imagine how much bigger and more competitive it will be in season 2 as well. So I'll look forward to that.
Yeah, certainly could be a much bigger GT3 field throughout next season as well.
Yeah.
So it could be those back of the grid drives you might have more people to overtake, but I think whatever the challenge, you got to relish it. So congratulations, Kieran, a fantastic season from you. And I think there are a lot of people that are going to be betting on you for next season as well. So you might not be the only one winning money. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Well, yeah, thank you very much. And yeah, I've got to try and make myself something to eat now because I'm starving.
Oh, I know the feeling. I had to shove it in while you're doing qualifying. I mean, for that perspective, yeah. So poor
Yeah.
Owen had to do that on his own when you were out there.
Yeah.
Fair play, fair play. Well, thank you guys, and yeah, I'll catch you guys later.
Well,
Thanks,
thank
Kieran.
you very much, Kieran, and best of luck for the future. Qualifiers, pre-qualifiers still open till March 23rd, by the way,
Yep.
for season 2, with our first race in early April at Imola, of course, 13th of April. So make sure you've got everything ready for then. But as we let Kieran Prendergast leave the commentary box with a huge bag of money into we've got just about enough time to interview the man who's third in all of our championships, third in the race today. But boy, he had an amazing fight with Michelle Rodriguez. It was, of course, Callum Cripps. Hello, Callum. You haven't won quite as much money as the man we just talked to, but $15 last week, $15 this week, on top of, I think, third in the overall standings, which is a good $50. So let's see what that totals out to. It's 30 plus 50, which is,
80.
if I'm very not, $80. There we go. That's nothing to
It's almost a meal out.
yeah.
Oh,
Let's see how long this lasts. But wow, Callum, boy, did you entertain us today in that battle with Michelle Rodriguez. I know Fabian Ballo was involved before he got disconnected early on and then turned into a Porsche safety car. But trying to introduce the Porsche early, I guess. But wow, it felt a little bit like you and Michelle knew it was the end of the season and you both just wanted to have fun. Neither willing to let the other get away, essentially. Several big dives from you, a couple that worked, a couple that didn't. It was 2.4 hours of just back and forth, and we were kept entertained throughout. It was amazing, good fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, congrats to Michelle. I know he ran out of energy on the last lap, which is annoying.
Well, maybe you kind of forced him to do that by pushing
Yeah,
himself.
I mean, I was saving pretty much the whole race, to be fair, because that's kind of what I'm good at. It's just one of the only things I'm good at when I'm not outright quick. I just kind of try and save as much energy as possible. But yeah, massive thanks to him for keeping it clean, and it was a good battle. There was I was just I was using that to try and work out exactly how bad the grip is offline, and it turns out it's awful. So you can't really do many big moves like I was doing up at turn 4. Yeah, because you just run wide. But it was really good fun, really good way to end the season. Obviously, it's been watching the Hypercar battle was really interesting. Just every time a car passed me, it was a different leader. So yeah, it's really great to see, and congrats to obviously Mitchie and Kieran as well on their wins.
I'm surprised you had any mental capacity to watch the Hypercar battle other than just staying out of the way when they lap you.
I didn't really. I was just watching them as they fly past me, and I was like, "Oh, that looks different to another one." But yeah, me and Kieran it's a hard track to do, nearly 3 hours on. So yeah, there's a lot of little mistakes here and there. I mean, the Hypercar guys have got to concentrate a lot more than we do, really. So yeah, it's a proper test, really. But yeah, looking forward to season 2. And yeah, it'll be really good fun.
I think you're definitely not the only one, Callum. Owen, do you have any questions for Callum before we let him go? Because we're getting on a bit here, so I thought I'd let you have a word.
Sure thing. Nice to meet you, Callum. I suppose my question is, your battle will certainly live long in the memory, but do you have any other highlights from the earlier rounds in the season that you'd like to reminisce on?
Well, I suppose it's got to be the wet race at Monza, where I just finished. Well, I nearly won, but Seb was just ahead of me in that one. Yeah, that was probably a highlight for me. I mean, last race at Kota was horrific. So I was pretty mad with myself after that one because it was just silly mistakes here and there. But yeah, I enjoy the sprint races. The endurance races take a lot of concentration, so. Yeah, I'm an endurance racer at heart, but yeah, it was tough, so I'm going to work on that. But yeah, it's overall been a fantastic season. I'm sure everybody will agree. The commentary and the stream's been outstanding. So yeah, thank you very much for that.
Yeah, well, certainly, it's very nice to see comments from your dad, Gary, cheering you on. He says, "Well done, Callum," and then he's got a third place bronze medal emoji, winky face, and then a thumbs up. So
Yeah,
I think that sums it up, doesn't it? Well, maybe he wants. He's like, oh, by the way, I need $80, but
yeah, he probably will.
I made that
Probably
joke
will.
with Kieran, except it was $240, so maybe that was a little bit silly. But
Kieran
anyway.
told me he's got to go and cook a roast dinner now, which is pretty mad. So I don't know what world he's in, but I made sure I had dinner before tonight. But yeah,
he can certainly afford it. That's for sure.
Yeah, he can. Yeah, good on him. Anyway, I'll let you guys get away, but thanks very much.
Thank you for coming to talk to us, Callum, and congrats on taking a third podium of the season and finishing third overall in all 3 championships in GT3.
Cheers, thank you.
Nice one, Callum. Good luck.
Thank you.
So then, with the interviews completed, then Owen, what an ending to our championship. We knew it was always going to be close with Simoncic and Hoyer 7 points apart going in, but Michi Hoyer wins. He sort of implied. He didn't imply. He flat out said that Simoncic missing around meant that he got lucky because he won it and got a full 25 points that he probably wouldn't otherwise have had over him. But I still think he's been really, really strong at the end of the season and putting some amazing that move that he made at the end to get through. When the pressure was on, he absolutely delivered today. So yeah, I think Michi can feel justifiably proud of finishing 30 seconds ahead because he did that completely on merit. There was no Simoncic missing a race to help him with that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Ed. It really did come down to the head-to-head and mind battle today. So yeah, absolutely spectacular stuff. And yeah, definitely to become champion after 8 grueling rounds, that is definitely no mean feat. Even if, yeah, certainly he will feel a little bit coy that he got 25 as a result, a 25-point swing by being able to attend and therefore put in his best foot forward, whereas Yerny was absent. So yeah, that does have to be acknowledged. But yeah, on the showdown, it was winner take all. Michi was the superior driver on the night. So yeah, a great showing for him, just to make absolutely certain of it, knowing the stakes were so high, knowing he could be the inaugural champion. And yeah, it was absolute joy to watch some of the battles and so many exciting moments across Hypercar, for example. And then, of course, yeah, Kieran Prendergast managed to follow all of his mental picture notes and get the job done to become LMGT3 champion. So well done to both our champions tonight.
Indeed, and also well done to Jene Simoncic on stealing the Endurance Cup. So he doesn't come completely empty-handed, the 4-time Formula Sim Racing World Champion, of course. But he'll be back, and he'll be looking to go all the way next time. But I have to thank you, Owen, for helping me out in the commentary box at short notice. You're welcome back anytime. I also had to thank Caitlin Penny, who helped earlier in the season. Ollie Shakespeare helped me commentate on Contender. And, of course, Braden Hill, who was with me at the very, very start of the season. We know Braden is sort of moving house at the moment, so he's got a lot going on, which is why he's not been able to join the last couple of races. But hopefully we get Braden back. We get a few more pole sister puns for Jene Simoncic as well in Season 2. And I have to thank everyone that's been watching as well throughout the season because we've really enjoyed having your support. Don't forget, Season 2 is coming. Pre-qualifying is open until March 23rd, and you can compete either in Contender or Pro. And thanks, of course, to Nicolaus Domino on broadcast direction, everybody else at VMS for putting on a brilliant championship and for inviting me on to commentate on it. It's been a real honor and a privilege to get to know Le Mans Ultimate. And yeah, I'm sure Season 2 is going to bring plenty of more surprises. And it's really exciting to be part of this as it keeps growing from the very beginning. But from me, Edward Hunter, and from the Bahrain International Circuit, congratulations to our champions, Michi Hoyer, Jene Simoncic, and Kieran Prendergast. Well done, everybody who got to the end of a quite grueling 2.4 hours of Bahrain. We'll see you in Season 2 on April 13th. Bye for now.